right, welcome back to the IMNerd podcast. We are here for episode 33, I believe. Wow, it's actually crazy. We're 33 episodes in. We've been operating for around 4 months. I think the podcast is about 4 months old. And yeah, we're going to be talking about Shang-Chi today, or I'm sorry, Shang-Chi, as they made a whole note in the movie to pronounce his name correctly, which is a derivative of the word Sean or the name Sean. Well, that was pretty funny that they did that. But thankfully, I now know how to pronounce it correctly, and it's not Shang, it's Shang. So want to get that right.
I'm most likely still going to say Shang, just out of habit.
Yeah, because you saw I just did it. I literally just said Shang-Chi immediately, and we talked about this before the podcast. We always have our little briefing where we try to talk about like not getting canceled, and immediately I said Shang-Chi immediately.
Yep. So, but yeah, on the plane they were like Shang.
Yes,
Shang.
And they kept doing it.
And the girl Katie was like Shang. Shang.
I like how she, despite being Asian, she is so American, and she like wants everyone to realize that she is so fucking American. They have to remind her that she's Asian.
I love when she got to China and they started speaking Chinese to her, and she was like, my Chinese isn't that good.
Yeah, when the dad asked her at the table, like, what's your real name? And she looked around at everybody and was like, because, you know, he's a killer. So she was like, I am scared to say that my name is fucking Katie.
Yeah.
She was scared to say, my fucking name is Katie. White ass
he was like, this is my friend Katie. And he was like, what's your Chinese name? And she was like,
She was talking all that shit earlier about how she's like, I'm American and all this other stuff. My name's Katie. And then as soon as it got time for some heat, some smoke was at her door, she looked around and was like, my name is wayyyyyy or whatever she ended up saying.
Yeah, she said something.
She gave a name though. It was a very Asian name. She gave one up. I thought that was really funny.
She said some shit from a movie she saw.
I feel like it. That shit definitely. She got scared. All right, before we get into this episode completely, I do want to give a shout out to our patrons over at Patreon because it's been an explosive month. November has been great. October was crazy for us with the whole health issues and stuff, but November has
a good turnaround.
It's a great turnaround. Things are really on the up and up. I feel fantastic for anyone wondering. Like my health, I feel like I am completely back to normal now. Everything is working fine again with my body. My energy's back up, like everything. Like I just feel great. I feel exactly like I felt before I ever got sick. So that is great. I feel like I made a full recovery. That being said, though, to our patrons, because we got I think since we recorded the last episode, we got 3 new ones, and yeah, we're growing. I mean, we have 16 people now on Patreon, which is fucking amazing. And I'm going to read them in chronological order from the first person to ever subscribe to us on Patreon all the way up into the newest 2 people who this will be their first shout out. But let's start off with Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, TCG Automotive, Silver Chronic, Tyree Tinsley, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Dominique Roberts, Giovanni Avalos, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but I think that's how you say it. And then Game Freak Yoshi. Shout out to Game Freak Yoshi and Giovanni Avalos specifically, because those 2 joined today and they unlocked exclusive content, including the episode that we just recorded and just released today, which was an episode requested by our patrons in our Discord about cheating in Yu-Gi-Oh! And some crazy cheating stories. So they requested that episode out of nowhere. I asked, like a week ago, what did they want for the next exclusive Patreon episode? And that was what they said. And honestly, At first I was like, this... I didn't want to really talk about that type of thing because it's one of those like dark arts. It's very taboo. But I'm not really a Yu-Gi-Oh player anymore. I know a ton of dirt on like a lot of people, and I try to avoid saying names as much as possible. But we blatantly talked about a lot of the cheating that does go on in the community, and a lot of ways.
I mean, most of the things we talked about, I feel like were public, and anything that wasn't
of it, yes.
Anything that wasn't public, we specifically didn't say any names.
Yeah, exactly. Like the thing with Peter Chang and I believe that was the way we started the episode off, and everyone knows about that one already. And if you haven't, it's on YouTube. So that one is very public. You can see exactly what happened, where I got cheated at on every single turn and every single minute of the video. And then so many other more obscure cheats that you guys probably will just never see coming are in that video. And I almost feel bad because I don't want people to get any ideas about because some of these things are clever as fuck. I mean, Kenny, you were blown away You were blown away because some of it was so clever that it was like, holy shit, how does someone even think like that to do that? Like it's
Oh
next, like the
shit.
cheating that we talked about in this episode was next level. And it's scary that people's brains can even think like that. Like it's wild. It is wild. But yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. So all right. Well,
Name of the episode is Bandit Keith, the true story.
yeah, we named it Bandit Keith. Kenny was like, "Are there any cheaters in a Yu-Gi-Oh cartoon?" And I was like, "Well, there are
Yeah.
a lot of cheaters actually, but
I was
Bandit Keith is."
initially going to go with My Valentine because I remember she like put perfume on her cards.
I think everyone in the show was cheating. I think when you look at the anime,
Yeah.
every single character in the anime was a cheater, like all of them. Like
Pretty
Kaiba says,
much.
"Screw the rules. I have money." Right.
Mhm.
That was like, so he was just about that life immediately. And in real life, there are definitely some cheaters out there who bribe people, which we didn't even talk about that in the episode, but there could be a part two of the cheating thing because I have some other like quote unquote pro Yu-Gi-Oh players who want to talk about some of the cheating stuff that has gone on that I might not be privy to, like stories that they have and things that are also mind blowing. So
We could get to that.
we'll have like a part two, I think, to that as well. Just like make it a whole series. Because honestly, to me, despite it being a taboo topic and all that, it is interesting. Like it's just one of those interesting things to hear about. It's like, holy shit, it's just mind blowing. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
My brain can't process sometimes like the things that I've heard or the things that I've seen. But yeah, we'll definitely do another one when the time is right. But yeah, it's been everyone in the show, everyone in the anime, like Pegasus, he's looking at your cards because his Millennium Eye can literally see your hand. That's cheating. Like you said, My Valentine perfume on her cards so she can smell. I guess she can smell certain ones. I don't know how that fucking works, but she was cheating. Bandit Keith, he was cheating, and then there's so many other ones. Like just everyone was doing their own fucking thing, had their own little way of gaming the system, and I even feel like Yugi, like Yami Yugi was doing some shit too with his whole Heart of the Cards nonsense, where you like draw exactly what you needed in that moment, but then you see the little Millennium symbol come on his forehead. It's like he's using his powers. So I always said that the Heart of the Cards was actually him activating his powers to draw anything.
You gotta do what you gotta do. But that said,
okay, all right,
on to the legend.
Yes, on to the legend, Shang-Chi. So, movie I thought it was good. I've been hearing that it was good since it released a couple months ago, but when they said they were releasing it on Disney Plus, I felt no obligation to see it in theaters. And that is something that we could talk about a little bit too. I think that you have that same feeling about like once you know it's coming to streaming shortly after it's in theaters, you kind of lose the incentive to see it in theaters sometimes, depending on how big the movie is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, I don't like going to the theaters anyway.
I know, yeah, you're not a big theater person.
I'm just not. The whole process, like, it could be fun. Like, I like going for specific events. For example, when Dragon Ball Z Battle of the Gods came out, all of our friends got together.
Yeah, it was like 6 of us.
Yeah, and I think it was more than 6.
It might have been. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was a good group, and we all go to the movies and we saw Battle of the Gods, and that was like a really fun event. For something that we all grew up watching to get like a big theatrical release. But in general, I'm not one of those people that go to the theaters every time a movie comes out that I want to see. I'll just wait for it to come out on a streaming service or whatever.
So I am kind of opposite of you, but for different reasons. So I live in a city, you live in the suburbs. It is much easier for me to get to a theater now because they put a theater in Center City, and I think I am 8 minutes away from that theater in Center City. And it is also an AMC. It's very, very nice. It is one of the nicest theaters I've ever been to because it's new.
8-minute walk or drive? Like an 8-minute Uber or
8-minute 8-minute Uber.
8-minute Uber.
Okay. Yeah, if I were to walk, the walk would take me 25 minutes.
Okay.
So still like not a crazy walk by any means. And if it was in the summer/springtime, I actually do the walk. Especially if people like, I'm going to come over your house, we'll meet up and then we'll go to the movie theater. We'll just walk to it. And then like we're end up walking through Center City and everything. And it's a nice day, that type of thing. But now it's like cold. So I just Uber.
Yeah. I'm not walking.
Yeah, I'm not. And also, yeah, I'm not walking around Philly at night anymore. That's just not a thing. But yeah, so it's very close to my house, which makes it really convenient for me to go to the movies because an 8-minute drive is nothing. So when my friend who lives much further away from the theater, but he also only wants to go to the theater because it's just that nice. He lives further, so he catches an Uber and he comes down, and you know, he leaves out probably half an hour before the movie starts. I leave out literally 10 minutes before the movie is like scheduled to start, but I'm really leaving out 10 minutes before the previews start
Yeah,
because
yeah,
we noticed that there's always a minimum of 20 minutes of previews, no matter what, like
yeah.
minimum 20. So if
So
the movie
do
starts at 7,
you?
it really starts at 7:20.
So do you don't like watching those previews?
I actually do. I don't
Okay,
mind
because I
watching
was
things.
going to say I actually love one of the aspects of going to theaters that I do like when I do go is that whole experience of sitting down,
Mhm.
watching these previews. I don't know why it's just like a nice experience. You just see all these kind of movies that are maybe come or
Yeah,
are coming out.
I love that too. I agree. What I end up doing a lot of the time is I end up getting there right before the previews start. Like
Mhm.
I end up walking in the theater, I sit down, I say what's up to him, and then we'll like talk maybe for a minute, and then next thing you know, it gets really loud, and then the previews start coming on.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, but yeah, so I usually do see the previews every single time. I don't like to get there like looking for my seat and stuff while the previews are going on. It's just very distracting, and I hate when people do that to me and they come through the aisle and all that. But it's just a part of the movie experience, right?
yeah.
But I do like to be in my seat before the first preview starts, so I time it in a way where I do get there. Like literally, it's crazy. If the movie starts at 7, I'll have my Uber like pick me up by 6:50, and I'll get there and see like I'll see all the previews. It's
Yeah,
actually just crazy that is that like it's
that's
timed that
legit.
well.
Yeah, if I lived really close to a theater, I could see myself going to one more
Yes,
because
if
there
you live,
used to be a theater near me, but that shit closed down years ago. But when there
mhm,
was a theater near me, I would go to it more often. But
yes, yeah, because like right now, I don't know how far the closest like good theater is to you,
it's
but
a
it's
mission.
probably
I ain't got time for
exact, and that's the thing.
it.
It's like the convenience is the only reason why I go to the movies almost every week. And also, I want to say this: I have this the AMC A list thing. It's like you pay $20 a month, and you can see 3 movies a week. It doesn't matter what movies they are.
Oh
You
wow.
you can also choose the quality. So we always choose the highest quality, which is like Dolby Atmos and like Dolby Vision and whatever, it's always, it's like IMAXed out and everything. We choose that one where like the seats shake and
Yeah.
everything's crazy. The
So wait,
screen's
three
nuts.
movies a week you can see for
Yes.
$20 a month. So how often would you say you go to a movies a month? Because I don't think you go 3 times a week.
No, I don't. I don't go anywhere near. So I've never, I shouldn't say never. I've only gone mostly once a week when we do go, right? We usually go once a week. It's usually like a Saturday or Sunday when we do go. Although there have been weekends where we've gone on a Saturday and then immediately gone on a Sunday. But for the most part, on a regular month, we go once a week. Now, the movies, the price of the tickets at this theater in Center City are $18 after everything.
Whew.
So if you see 2 movies, really if you
Yeah,
see 1 movie, you've already
yeah.
paid for it. But if you see two, okay, here's what happened. This is how it even started. And I know this is like off on a tangent, but I do want to explain exactly how we even got into this. So when Star Wars, whichever one was the latest Star Wars movie, The Last Jedi, I guess, or I don't know what it was called, Revenge of the Sith, something of the Sith, I don't know. The last Star Wars movie that came out, the conclusion to the trilogy, we saw that movie 4 times, and we
Holy
were
shit.
we were just we were paying for it regular. We were just paying for it out of pocket, and he was like, we we ended up going to the movies to see this a lot. We probably should just get into their like their pass thing or whatever it is, like their subscription. And I was like, "Whoa, I didn't know that they really had a subscription. Like, what is it about?" And he said, "You can see 3 movies a week. It's $20 a month." And yeah, so we looked into it, and the deal was just as good as it sounded. There was nothing wrong with it. It was like no scammy shit, no weird. It's AMC.
That's
Uh,
actually wild.
it's so good. And what's crazy is back in the day, I want to say like 2018, Gary and I, we found something called Movie Pass, where we were able to, that was $10 a month, and you were able to see a movie a day. And it eventually got shut down because all the movie theaters rose up against it because it became really big. It was like a
Yeah,
really
I
big thing.
mean, you said $10 a month,
Yep, $10 a
and you could
month, and
see a movie a day.
you can
Like,
see a
what
movie.
the fuck?
Yeah, it was insane. So I ended up seeing Avengers Infinity War um like 7 times in theaters, like some crazy number of times in theaters. Every time somebody
That's
said they wanted to see Infinity War
crazy.
and they hadn't seen it yet, I said I'll go. Like every time.
At that point, the only way they're making money is on popcorn because
Yeah, concessions. So what
tickets
ended up
tickets are more than 10. They were more than $10 when I went to the
yes.
movies as a kid. Like,
Yes. So the movie pass thing never made sense. That one to me, I thought it was a scam. And then Gary kept going to the movie theaters and coming back and being like, "Hey, I just saw this. I just saw," because he was seeing shit that he didn't even want to really see. Like he was just seeing every movie, and I was concerned. I was like, "Why the fuck did you go and see Escape Room? Like that's not even something that you would like." And he's like, "It was
He was
free."
like, "Because it's free." Yeah, like
Yeah,
why the fuck wouldn't I?
so I was like, "Okay." And we had that theater. The theater shut down now because of COVID, but we had that one theater that was really in walking distance from our apartment.
Yeah.
Like the one that we actually ended up going to, I think, for the Battle of the Gods. It was in walking distance. So he was just walking to the movie theater every day with
Yep.
friends and then seeing a movie. And they ended up nerfing it, but it didn't deter us at all from keeping a subscription. They nerfed it the first time. The first nerf was you can only see the same movie once in a week. So like if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw Infinity War this week,
You
I
can't
couldn't
watch
see
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would literally be grayed out. So that was the first nerf. The second nerf was they put a surcharge on certain movies. They were like, "Oh, this is a really popular movie, so you're gonna have to pay $5 to see this one." So then to see Infinity War, it would be like, "Oh, I have to pay $5."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, "I don't like this." And so I was like, "Well, I'm only going to the movies that don't have that surcharge nonsense on it, or going, at times when that's not on apps." I really was like, "I'm not paying anything over $10. Like that is what I signed up for. That's what I'm paying." And I am very cheap. In a weird way, I'm cheap because people also know that I'm very expensive at the same time. But in these really strange ways, I am extremely cheap. So when it comes to shit like that, I save money every time I can. So I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." And then every single movie and every single Showtime had that surcharge on it.
Yeah. And then
So
you're like, all right, whatever.
yeah, we looked at it like, well, this is a fucking scam. Like now you're paying $10 a month, but you're also paying $5 per movie. So it's like, yes, that's still very cheap. But now I just feel like this is not even the same thing at all. It's like not even remotely the same thing that I
No,
signed up
not at
for.
all.
So
Because
I
now,
canceled.
you would have to see a movie every day, paying $5 every day in order to get the value. But then at
Yeah.
that point, you're paying for something you didn't want anyway, because you didn't want to see a movie every
Yeah,
day
some of the
anyway.
movies that I ended up seeing when I had Movie Pass, I didn't want to fucking see those movies. I would not have
Yeah,
paid to see them. I would have done other methods to watch those movies. Let's just say that.
for sure.
Because some of them are not worth seeing in theaters and paying a $20 ticket. So I ended up canceling it, and then it ended up getting taken down anyway. Like there's no more Movie Pass thing. That shit got shut down. The movie theaters, they rose up and took it down, which made sense because yeah, they lost a bunch of their subscriptions. Everyone was like complaining about it and how you had to pay for it now, like a whole lot. So they ended up just tanking anyway. I'm sure they made a ton of money while I was around, but it ended up tanking and going away. But then AMC realized, well, this is a great opportunity to create a subscription service for movie theaters. And I was like, okay, it's double the price, so it's 20, but one, it's AMC. The movie theaters are so comfortable. They're so nice. Usually, at least the ones that I've been to in like the Philadelphia and Jersey area, the AMC's are extremely nice. And so the $20 ticket is not really a lot when you can see 3 movies a week. And I know, I'm not going to see 3 movies a week realistically, but even seeing like your question was, how many movies do I see a month? I want to say I see about 4 to 6 movies a month.
Mm.
So it's pretty damn decent. Like we're going to see The House of Gucci. It's a movie with Adam Driver, Kylo Ren, for those who don't know. Adam Driver's in it, and it's like a fashion, it's about fashion. Lady Gaga's in it. She's a main character. It just looks interesting. Obviously, you guys know I love fashion and stuff like that, and it looks funny. And it's just like a movie that I probably wouldn't go to the theaters to see normally, but because I have the AMC pass, I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
I also just saw another movie that I talked about on my Facebook, The Last Duel with Adam Driver also, and it has Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in it. And I think that movie's going to be nominated for Movie of the Year at the Oscars. It's so fucking good, but it's another movie that I probably would not have seen without having the AMC pass. And it blew me away. Like I didn't expect it. We went in blind, not knowing. We didn't even know what it was about. We were just like, we're just going to see this because we have the pass, and it ended up being one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's called The Last Duel. It is extremely good. I'm not even going to tell you guys what it's about because I want you to just go in blind and just watch it. It's actually so fucking good. I think it's going to be Movie of the Year, personally. And if not, it'll definitely be it's going to be nominated 100% for Movie of the Year. There's no question about that. It has a very Game of Thrones feel to it. I feel like some of the people who worked on Game of Thrones worked on this movie. So So really good movie. But yeah, we've just been seeing everything. Like everything that comes out pretty much, unless it's like absolutely horrid. Like I'm not gonna go see Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Damn, I'll go see the Dave Chappelle version.
What?
I'll see
Oh
it.
yeah, you talked about that nonsense. I was like, what are you talking about? But yeah, there's a Clifford the Big Red Dog movie coming out. I won't see. Like obviously, I'm not going to go fucking see that. I don't care about that.
I did not know there's a Clifford movie coming out. That's
I
a
only know
rant.
because of the previews when I went to go see.
That's a rant.
Yep, the last movie.
But
When was the last movie I saw? What just came out that I was in? I was in the theaters recently for something. Oh, Eternals.
oh yeah. I can't wait for that to come to Disney Plus. We'll do a video on that one day.
Yeah, we will. Probably in 3 months when it releases, or 2 months, or whatever. Okay, but finally, let's get to Shang-Chi here.
Well, that was listen. That was a part of whether or not we would watch it in theaters and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, I watched it on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and it was good. And the thing is, I'll say after seeing it, this is a movie that if I saw it in theaters, I would be pleased. I would have been pleased going to the movies to see this because I actually thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought it was funny. And I do sometimes have an issue with how much comedy Marvel tends to put in their movies. Yeah, I'm not one of those people who's like a killjoy and doesn't like to laugh at things and stuff, but sometimes it's too much. And I just feel like certain situations it's like, okay, in this situation, no one will be making fucking quips and jokes, or it just is not called for in certain times. So I sometimes feel like it's ridiculous when they're joking about stuff, but this movie did it in such a well placed way that, and I just found myself laughing at a lot of it. I have a lot of friends who are Asian, and some of the things that they made light of and made fun of in this movie were actually things that my Asian friends have told me about, like Asian parents and how they, the expectations of their children and all of those things, right? Like this movie definitely plays on a lot of the Asian culture things that we all hear about. If you have any Asian friends, they definitely talk about this type of stuff, strict parents and wanting you to be a certain way and basically shitting on you when you're not a certain way, as we see very early on. So, but yeah, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I also really enjoyed this movie. Found it funny, and I want to say, because you mentioned how it was funny, but it wasn't over the top like some of the other Marvel movies are funny in weird spots. Another thing about this movie was it didn't feel like a line for line. It didn't feel like a superhero movie. It felt like a kung fu movie. Like it felt like a really cool fantasy kung fu movie, and I thought that was a really nice breath of fresh air, and just was placed really well. Like it was because it was a kung fu movie, but connected to the Marvel universe, and they did a lot to tie it to the Marvel universe and tie it to older movies, but without throwing it in your face.
Yes.
Aside from mentioning the snap once or twice, there was a bunch of other little references that were either in the background or in the foreground, but they weren't directly saying like, "Hey, this is a reference." It was just kind of there, and you had to know that it was a reference.
Yes,
and it gave it this nice connected feel, while also just being a kung fu movie, which was really cool.
Everything you just said, I agree with, because when I was watching, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, and you actually said it better than I could. I didn't know why I was enjoying that first fight scene on the bus. That first fight scene on the bus, I was watching it like, yo, this is giving me Jackie Chan vibes, like old Jackie Chan, which I'm a huge fan of. Old Jet Li vibes, using your jacket to fight and wrap people up, like doing the grabbing onto something above you and then drop kicking somebody. It would do a lot of little references to old kung fu movies, and I didn't quite put that together when I was watching because I was just enjoying the moment. But now that you said that, that's why I enjoyed this movie so much, because it didn't feel like I was forced to watch an origin story for Shang-Chi.
Yes. It was so good.
It didn't feel like the whole movie was focusing around this guy eventually getting the 10 rings. It was just kind of like the 10 rings are a thing. He doesn't get them until the very end. So I also thought that was cool, because that makes me excited for the next time we see him, when he's going to be OP as fuck.
He's going to be OD with them 10 rings.
He was already OP in the movie, which I thought was really cool. They showed us that he's broken without the 10 rings.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get them to the very end. So I really, really liked a lot of things this movie did. It didn't feel like your typical superhero movie that's, I don't know, too zoned in on the one character and their whole origin. It just kind of was like, here's a movie about someone's life, and there's this aspect of it that's wild, which is, his dad being an eternal, he can't die type of situation with these superpowers, and pretty much has been running a portion of the world in a way. He's been moving the world along in a way throughout the last 1,000 years. you know, that like obviously that is really crazy and out there, but it's Marvel is what you'd expect from this type of thing. But it I don't want to say it was an afterthought, but it just kind of felt like I was watching Sean living his
Mhm.
life, and then
Mhm.
shit starts to happen to him that's like, damn, I was just living my regular life, parking cars, hanging with my best
Mhm.
friend, who like maybe a love interest later, but right now they're, you know, platonic and everything. There was, I don't know, I really liked it. I
It
really
was
did.
I agree. And to sort of piggyback off what you're saying, that was off of what I was saying, they in terms of it, because this is technically an origin story
Yes.
or origin story movie. It is in the category of origin story Marvel movies, one of the best ones.
Yep.
Like
Easily.
it's better than Iron Man 1, it's better than Thor 1, like it's
Yep.
better than the first Captain
The
America.
Incredible
Like I think
Hulk.
yeah, it's better than a lot of those movies. Like first and fucking foremost. But
Yes.
second of all, oh wait, before I get to the second of all, I want to say when you were saying the action's really well, you didn't say the action's really clean. I was gonna when you were saying the action's really clean, I said out loud watching the movie multiple times, yo, that was fucking clean. Like
Yes.
like they did something and I out loud said that was fucking
Yes.
clean
You got an
multiple
audible.
times.
You had an audible reaction
Yes.
to what was happening, and I told you when before you watched it, I texted. I said, "Yo, Shang-Chi is actually legit and it's very funny." And I found myself laughing out loud actually by myself. Like
Yes.
I was in my bed, all the lights turned out, watching this movie on my fucking OLED TV, enjoying the beautiful CGI, beautiful fight scenes. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, I am like Katie had me dying. Like
Yo, Katie was funny as
she
shit.
was just so fucking funny to me. So I found myself laughing at her a lot throughout the movie. And it was an actual laugh, not when you just type LOL and then you're not actually laughing. I was literally
Yeah.
laughing.
Yeah. It's not like sometimes you type LOL and you're just kind of smiling, or you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, that was funny.
Yeah,
But
you're literally
you
just
were
sitting there.
legit laughing. Yeah,
100%
no,
laughing.
there was action. There was the one of the second big action sequence when they were fighting on the scaffolding
Yes.
outside the building.
Oh my god,
That
yes.
was you want to talk about a Jackie Chan ass scene. There's a part where he goes and he flips under the scaffolding with like a bar to kick somebody, and then as he's flipping, he grabs the plank from above, flips it over so the plank smacks somebody else.
It
And then
was
there's another spot where there's a plank missing, and so he kicks a dude over, and the dude fills in a gap, and so then he runs over the dude because the dude's body makes a bridge. Like it's such a
that
Jackie
when that
Chan
guy's
ass.
body made a bridge and then they dropped him down afterward using him as a bridge, I was done. I said, this is too much. The movie was choreographed, the fighting, everything. It was choreographed so well. I really, really want to make sure that we give them their flowers, which we are. I'm I cannot believe how well done the choreography is. Like whoever did the fighting choreography just needs to stay on as a
Oh man.
choreographer for the rest of Marvel's like next phase. They just need to stay on because they nailed it. They just knew exactly what a good fight scene should look like, even if it's not necessarily kung fu every time, right? Like it's not going to be,
Mhm.
you know, he was taught by his dad, and you know him and his sister trained or whatever. She was using like that one crazy ass weapon with the blade and stuff. All of that's great. It's not obviously not going to always be that when you see the new Captain America fighting or
Yeah,
whoever,
but you could
but
get some clean like, you could get this is a problem I've had with a lot of American films is kung fu like, in terms of action scenes, kung fu films have always just been so much cleaner
oh,
in the way they do
it's
the
not even
fight
it's
scenes,
not even close. They're so
and
good
I
at it.
don't with the budget we have in American filmmaking, there's no reason why we can't do that same shit, and that's
Yes.
something that I liked about this movie is it felt like a Marvel kung fu film, and
Yes.
it didn't cheap out on what made kung fu films legit.
Yeah, no,
Um,
not even a little bit.
to get back to that original point and that you felt like you were just watching a movie and didn't feel like it was like really zoned in on being a strict origin story. I want to even say, kind of want to up the ante a little bit, is this movie gave me a similar vibe to Infinity War, where although the main character is Shang-Chi, it felt like the movie was about Wenwu, his father. There was a,
Yes.
and that was so cool. Like, because Wenwu, his father, is quote unquote the villain of the movie,
Yep.
but they spend such a good amount of time.
He opens the movie.
Yeah. Oh
He
man.
opens the movie. You're right. That's another thing. It doesn't just focus on the main character, I guess, like Shang-Chi the whole time. Like Sean is not the only focus. It really is more so like they share the role of main character. His
Mhm.
dad is in the movie pretty much just as much as he is, honestly.
Yeah.
He opens the movie. There's the whole scene of him, like stumbling upon Talo's entrance, kinda, and then he that's where he finds the mom, and then they have a whole epic fight. Another fucking
A beautiful fight
oh
scene.
my
Yeah.
god! Again, just the choreography of this fight, and then she's actually holding her own. Which up until this point, you've seen him body everybody and everything he's ever come across. So when he's fighting against her, it's like, well, one, you don't expect her to be able to keep up with the 10 rings, because I was thinking even if she's like able to do kung fu as well, really well, it won't matter because he has the 10 rings, but she used them against him and all types of other fancy shit. And she at no point was afraid of him. At some point, she was like taunting him and making light of his attacks and stuff. And that part where she like does that one arm move where she pushes his arm in a certain way and she like stares at him as he twirls him around. And I think that the son ended up doing that to the dad at the end of the movie. But I do like stuff like that, and seeing how, just because you have these 10 rings, you're not all powerful, which is good because that makes us know that even Shang-Chi will be beatable despite the 10 rings. You know what I mean? Like I like that.
Yeah. The 10 rings aren't the Infinity Stones, but they're
They're
still
not.
broken.
They're broken, but they're definitely not the Infinity Stones. And before we go any further, let me just take a quick break. I need to grab my Uber Eats and then we will reconvene.
All right, we will be right back.
All right, we are back from our little break. Had to pick up my Uber Eats real quick. But yes, this movie, so good. All of the fighting choreography when his father and his mother are fighting before he's born. That scene was crazy, unexpected for sure. And seeing, the dad basically lost. Like, I don't know if he was going all out technically, but I don't think he expected to get his rings taken either.
Yeah. He got shown the way. And that little ass whooping that made him fall in love, basically.
Yeah.
You find out that at first it's not clear how much more time they spend together, but later on in the movie, once again, because this movie is as much about Wenwu as it is about Shang-Chi,
yeah,
they show that the father and the mother ended up spending a lot more time together, and they would practice and train together, and then that sort of fostered their relationship until when they got married and had kids.
Yes. So let's go back a bit to like the very beginning of the movie. So the movie opens up with what's his name again? Wenwu?
I think it's just Wenwu.
Wenwu. Okay. Wenwu, Sean's dad, he is living 1,000 years before current time. And he found the rings. They say that no one really knows exactly their origin, which comes up later for the post-credit scene. But no one knows the exact origin of the rings. He just kind of has them, and they show him going to war. And there's a huge army in front of him, and he has his own, army with him and everything. But he kind of goes solo into the other army.
He does a little Madara Uchiha.
He does Madara the situation, and he just bodies pretty much the defenses of the other army. He doesn't like completely wipe them all out by himself, but he opens them up so that when his men come in, it's much easier. It reminded me, and this is a Game of Thrones thing, but it reminded me of when Daenerys broke the lines of Jaime Lannister with the dragon. It reminded me of that exact type of thing where he went through the middle and it kind of forced their defenses to collapse, and then his men just kind of came up and started attacking. Yep. So he uses the rings really, really well in the very first scene of the movie, and it's a great display of how ridiculous they are. And then they also explain to you that they grant you shit like immortality.
Yeah, because he does not age for about 1,000 years.
Yeah, he doesn't take them off until he meets the mom, from what I understand.
Exactly.
So he literally goes from 1,000 years ago when you're watching it, it's like old time, and then to current time. And they actually show him going through the years too. Like eventually his hair changes and he looks like a more modern human being. Because at first, he looks like a person from 1,000 years ago. But as they show him going through times, he's changing slowly. And now he's like wearing a suit and he has his hair cropped and faded and everything. He looks like a regular ass person living in 2021. But he like never took off the rings except for when he met Sean's mom, and he actually aged from that. Yes. Which I thought was really, really cool, that you can just, take them. One, it's a good thing that you could take them off, because sometimes shit like that will be like, well, once you put these on, you have them forever until something.
Yeah, they
crazy
weren't like
happens.
cursed. They weren't like cursed and like forced to be on them and like.
Kinda.
Why you hit him like that?
They was kinda cursed though, dog. My man was hearing his dead wife throughout the movie. Like that
wasn't the ring's fault. That was Cthulhu on the other side of the wall.
I don't know, man. I feel like them rings might have been talking. Them things were talking. But yeah, he said Tulu on the other side. But yeah, the rings don't appear to have any apparent, curses or anything. I mean, really no flaw to them, honestly.
While we're talking about the rings, can I just say they have now made it up into my top 10 list of fucking things I would want to be a bit. They are sick.
They
Like
are.
the way he was using them and fighting, they are some of the sickest
They really are.
combat
The way
weapon
he flew with
accessories.
them, the way he uses them to
Brother,
fly. Whew.
them shits were sick. When he would like throw his arm down and the
Yep.
rings would come off his arm, and then he would
They
throw
would
them, and
cause
then
a
he would
shock.
like, oh my, and he would like throw punches and the rings would come out like beams and shit.
Dog, when he uppercutted his own son, that fucking, oh my god, that scene was crazy. He punched his son in the stomach really hard, lift him up off the ground, and then you saw the rings kind of like gather and then eject into his son's chest and blow, like the explosion that came out of energy. That I was like, what the fuck? He had to be trying to kill Sean at that moment.
Yo,
Like, he
was going ham when he fucking blew his ass and fucking Moses to the water. Blew his ass through the water.
His ass.
You threw he saw the water. Listen, man, he blew all over that asshole. All right, like that water was.
He definitely did he parted the sea for sure. He was on some shit. The rings, honestly, I really like that they showed us what happens when somebody has something for 1,000 years, because he should be an expert with them, right? Like,
yes,
it made sense that when we're watching him use them, he's using them to an expert level that obviously at some point Shang-Chi will surpass and all of that stuff, because that's just how it is. But he was using those rings and very confident in the way he used them. He was never fearful of anyone the entire movie. I really like that. Even when the auntie rolled up on him at the end and she was about to fight him, and then he just kind of looked at her. Then he kind of made a gesture to his one like main guy, like his right-hand man.
Yeah.
And then the right-hand man just got with her real quick. I really like that part too, because it was like, you're not my equal. Like, I'm not stopping for you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not. Also, it was probably also like, I'm not going to fight the sister of my wife. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm just not. I'll let my assassin kill her instead, and that'll be much better for when my wife comes back. That'll be much better. So
yeah, the Legend of the Ten Rings, the way he uses them, first of all, I just like how clean they look on his arm.
They look amazing.
It looks so clean when they're just sitting there when they're off, and then when they turn on, and
they look so fucking cool. So many. In my head, I'm jumping around to different scenes, and they're all the action scenes.
Yeah.
There's the one scene, we'll get to it, when oh my god, when he has his son point out who killed the mom. Oh my god, just the way they look in his suit with the sleeves rolled up. Kenny, I can't deal. You know I love fashion. That shit was so fire.
It really was.
Okay, but yes. So the dad, living for 1,000 years, he has created empire. And the empire basically does whatever he wants them to do. Like, they, obviously they're probably billions and billions of dollars rich, corruption. They said something about like controlling governments. Like,
something that's cool, and they don't. Once again, this is one of those things where they tie to the Marvel universe, but they don't pound it in your face. They briefly. So I don't know if you remember. You probably do though. But they bring back the one character from Iron Man 3, the character that was pretending to be the Mandarin.
Yes.
They even talk about it. And I thought that was really cool, because he makes a joke early in the movie, and he says, like, some time ago in the US, there was a terrorist named the Mandarin, and he was imitating me, but he didn't know my name. And so he made something up. And
they were afraid of an orange.
Yeah. And he was just like making all these jokes, talking about it. And then
they do a little montage too.
In those early Iron Man movies, the people that kidnapped Tony Stark and all, like, the 10 Rings are part of those movies. Like, there's throughout a lot of the Marvel movies, there's been talk of the 10 Rings as an organization, of them buying things. And then I think, I'm not 100% sure, I think what this movie was basically saying was, in some of those instances, it was the real 10 Rings, this guy running shit. But I think he was also, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but I think he was also saying in some of the instances, it was a fake organization pretending to be them.
He was saying that. Well, that's what I got from it as well. He was basically saying, like, I have had my hand in toppling governments and controlling governments and creating wars between different nations and stuff like that. And also, in other cases, it was somebody imitating me, or like a group imitating to be us, and they were basically a fucking meal.
Yeah.
Like, they took the name of a meal, and everyone was scared of an orange. But like he said, that's what he was alluding to. And I definitely picked up on that as well. And they do a little montage where they actually show some of those scenes of like assassinations that he might have carried out, and like ways that he's gotten wars to happen, and all types of other crazy shit that I thought was really decent to see. One of the things that I wondered about, but I guess it never really came up for him, is back in the day when he first got the 10 rings, you know, he was a god among men, easily, no question, like absolute god. The technology, there was no technology to exist to fight against them. But as time progresses, right, he's gotten to watch 1,000 years of technological advances. This man has gone through the Industrial Revolution. He's gone through World War I, World War II, and that's just like, you know, recent shit to him, really. Like that's that's more recent in his life. So as technology's gotten to the point now where like we have nukes and all types of other crazy drone strikes and all, you know, just crazy shit. I wonder if he ever was like, it's getting to a point where these rings may not hold up as much.
No, son. If there was a bomb, there'd be a bomb coming down, right? He'd throw his arm up, the rings would come off, and then you would watch the rings expand, and they would catch that shit.
That would be cool as hell. If the rings can expand to like a really large size, that'd be cool as well.
Yeah, I'm not gonna put them past them. All right.
Oh, I think Sean's gonna unlock the next Shang-Chi movie, or if he's in like the next Avengers or whatever it's gonna be called. I'm assuming that they're going to be doing more things than a dad ever did. Like, yeah. I think they're definitely going to be doing. He's going to be the prodigy and all that with them, and yeah. But it's movie's really really good. I liked. So in the beginning, they show, you know, he has a kid, and then it kind of switches over to Sean waking up in his bed, and he has like a little postcard with the dragon on it, and he thinks that his sister sent it.
Yep.
And you know, they show his life, and at first you think they're like, oh, maybe his life is like something cool, because he starts off working out, he's doing push-ups and shit, taking care of his body. And then the second they switch the scene, he's a valet driver.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, so his life, not to shit on his lifestyle or anything like that, like not to shit on his career, because that's a valid job, like somebody has to do it, you know, it's a paying job, he's living on his own. But he's a valet driver, and his dad is very clearly a billionaire, maybe a trillionaire, because he's been around for I have to imagine he's probably a trillionaire, honestly. He probably has all different types of aliases, all different names, all different kinds of bank accounts, shit like that, like the vampire thing.
I like how they talk about that. Katie's parents are like talking shit, and Katie's like, I'm happy, all right? Like, yes. I'm a valet driver. I'm fucking happy. Like, y'all leave me alone.
I love that they put that in this movie, because that's such a valid thing, especially with the pandemic that we're experiencing in real life. A lot of people got to find out, because, you know, a lot of people lost their jobs and weren't working, but they were able to take on passion projects. I mean, this is a passion project for us right now. Like, this podcast was birthed because of the pandemic. I don't know if I ever would have had time to really sit down and like storyboard or imagine doing this for real, like really take the time to really do it. Like, me being home for 2 years is part of the reason why I even took the leap of faith to say, do you want to start doing this podcast with me? Like, do you want to give this an honest shot? Is because of being home all this time, and like everyone's been streaming and everyone's been starting their own thing and being a content creator and getting into that space. And when she said, you know, I am happy doing the job that I'm currently doing, I love, like, she loves cars very clearly. The second that guy, the one guy walks up and he drops off this fancy ass car. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was some fancy ass car. He throws the keys to Sean, and she's like, "I'm driving," and he's like, "No," and so this gets her
like,
excited.
"I'm the Asian," and then name some NASCAR driver. She's
Yes,
like, "I'm the Asian, this guy."
Yes, and she was like, "He's the best of all time," or whatever, something, and like Sean's like, "I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about," but and then she convinces him to get in, and they go on this little joyride, and it's a crazy ass joyride. It's a really cool scene where you get some personality from both of them. He's very clearly one of those people who tries to talk her out of stuff, but he always goes along with it in the end.
Yeah.
And we
I
all
remember
have that
they were talking about how they got shit to do in the morning.
Yep.
And they were like, you know, we should go to bed. And then the next scene is them doing karaoke, just like
I love
going
it.
ham.
I was dying because I've been in that exact type of karaoke bar. There's one in Center City called YKTV. And I went to that for our friend Lewis's birthday recent, like 2 or 3 months ago. I went to it, and it was my first time really doing karaoke like that. I enjoyed this so much. It was an exact type of environment. It's like a room they put you in with a really big screen TV, and you just get to choose a song and start singing with anybody you want. And there's like multiple microphones. Really, really fun. So when I saw them drunk and singing karaoke, I that was one of the scenes where I laughed out loud, because one, I experienced it, and two, I just thought it was great that he literally was like, yeah, we both have work in the morning. He said I have the early shift. And then she's like, yeah, but you know what we could do? And then it just switches. I love that he never really fully commits to talking her out of any of the crazy shit she wants to do. He's the guy that like you know, he pretends like he doesn't want to do it, but then eventually like he's very easily convinced. So either you are that person, like you are the easily convinced friend, or you're the one who does the bad ideas and convinces somebody else to do it. You're one of the two. I'm the one who gets convinced. I'm the friend who I pretend like, oh no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to go. And the next thing you know, I'm fucking booking the ticket.
Then you're fucking there.
Yep. So I thought that was really good. But the beginning of the movie basically does drive home a point that I think is really important for our generation of doing something that you love. I know I also say that at the end of every podcast episode, but I do mean it. Do the things that make you happy and not necessarily do things because that's just the way you were raised or for money or for any, like obviously we all have to survive. So I would never recommend someone do something that will put their livelihood at risk. Don't quit your job without a plan. Like I still work as an accountant right now, despite the fact that I'm a content creator now. I'm still an accountant because that pays my bills. It affords me the lifestyle that I want. But eventually I do hope that with this content creation that it gets to a point where I don't have to be an accountant anymore, like unless I want to, because I'll always have the skill. But I might not necessarily want to do that for the rest of my life. And I love talking. Clearly, I love doing this. Like this is much, much better. And to be able to monetize this is also a great feeling. Like the fact that we have people who are willing to support and pay for the podcast and pay for like our exclusive content and all that stuff. That also feels amazing. I talk about it to you all the time, but to the people who might not know,
100%.
To the people who might not know, like this feels great. This feels like something that I was actually called to do. And I know that you've been doing content creation for the last several years, which is one of the reasons why I was like, I kind of want to do this with you because you know what it's like to literally stream for hours and hours and hours and talk to people for hours and hours and hours and entertain people for hours. Yep. And I had no experience doing that. So
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And once again, it's something that makes me happy. And so I enjoy doing it.
Playing games makes you happy. Watching anime makes you happy. All these things also make me happy. And now we're talking about it and able to like not only just monetize it in a way, but make people like help them with their day. Like I've gotten so many messages, and you have too, of just people saying like I listen to this every time I'm at the gym, or I listen to this while I'm at work.
Yep.
And that is just cool as shit to me. Like people even say like they wish that there was more episodes. Like obviously we already have a hard time getting these 2 episodes out a week, but if we could.
Yeah, I've had one of my friends message me and he was like, I can't believe how many episodes y'all have.
Yes.
With how recently you started. Because he was like, I think that doing it 2 times a week might be too much. Y'all should do it once a week. And then I was like, no, I think we'll be fine doing it 2 times a week for now. And then, a couple months later, he goes, I cannot fucking believe how many episodes.
Because like we stuck with it. We've been doing 2 episodes a week since we started. And the only time we ever stopped was literally because of a near-death experience. So we've really stuck to it this entire time. And it's I don't know, it's just been great doing it this whole time and being able to talk about something like this, which I've been waiting to come to Disney Plus, Shang-Chi. And now we're having a whole podcast episode about it. It's also a hot topic on social media because it just hit Disney Plus last Friday. So everyone's talking about the movie who hasn't seen it. And then even people who have seen it have watched it again and they're revitalized and talking about it. And as you guys can clearly hear, this is one of the better Marvel movies. This is one of the movies that
I think this movie is great. Look, so let me say that, first of all, I don't have a bad thing to say about the movie.
I don't think I do either.
I don't have anything in the movie that I saw that I was like, this is bad. I don't have a bad thing to say. Now, that doesn't mean it's the best movie I've ever seen in my entire life. But I truly don't have anything bad to say. I enjoyed the movie from start to finish.
Yep.
There was great action sequences.
Yep.
Great, like the CG looked good. The fucking, skipping all the way to the end, the dragon looked fucking cool. The dragon
looked cool. The demon thing that came out looked cool, actually.
Yeah.
So like some Godzilla shit. Yes. Everything looked good.
The movie looks good. I felt like the story was written well. The fact that it wasn't just like a cheesy origin story, I think was done well. It felt like there was time and effort put into the writing and care put into the characters. So I really don't have a bad thing to say about the movie. That doesn't mean it's the best movie of all time, but I really do think the movie's
great. I'm sure that somebody could probably point out some nitpicky thing that like was wrong with the movie, but I didn't really see anything like that when I was watching it. I only watched it once. But
yeah, me too. You watched it 2 days ago. I watched it last night.
Yep. And I I was actually surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Like I kind of went into it like everyone's hyping this up, and I wonder if this is gonna be one of those things where they hype up the movie, and then when I see it, I'm just kind of not really feeling it. Kind of how I feel
Mhm.
about the Guardian of the Galaxy movies. I just don't like them. The Spider-Man movies so far, the last two, like Homecoming and whatever other one was, I thought they were okay. People were really, really hype on them when they first came out, as though they were like the best movies ever and the best Marvel movies ever. And I just didn't feel that way. I didn't think that either one of those Spider-Man movies were better than Winter Soldier, like not even close,
Mhm. Mhm.
honestly. Um, they were just fine to me. And then now with like the new Spider-Man movie coming out, like obviously everyone's super hype about that because it's nostalgia. They're playing on the nostalgia thing, but this can go, not to be a negative Nancy, but I'm gonna be negative Nancy right now. That can go very wrong with how much shit is supposed to be happening in this next Spider-Man movie. Like that can be a clusterfuck that's too much. And I feel like one of the things that made Shang-Chi so great is, like you said, it's really a story about his dad just as much as it's a story about him. It doesn't overstep and try to do too much. It just kind of
No, it
like
does not.
tells a very simple story, and with characters who are believable, I think is very important. Like Sean and Katie are just two fucking Americans that
Yeah.
are living their life. Like they're valet parkers and getting chewed out by their parents for not living the life that their parents wish that they lived.
The
They
grandma
do.
being like, "When are you guys getting married?" He's like, "We're just friends." Like,
They
you know what I mean? Like,
literally
that's
deal
all
with.
real life shit.
It's so good. They deal with all the same shit that we deal with. So it's really cool to see like human superheroes in a way. Like they're just like
Mm.
very, very human and
On that
very
note
funny.
human super, like, quote unquote super villains as well. Wen Wu, the father, he doesn't have some, like, he's not a twisting my mustache grand evil supervillain that just
Yeah.
wants to rule the world. Like, that is not in his machinations at all. Like,
Yeah.
yes, he is a super mob boss and he has some control over the world and he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
authority, but he's not like twisting his mustache supervillain. He's a down the earth real person who got power, utilized that power, fell in love, put that power down for love, got
Yep.
to see like a change of his ways. And then his past comes back to haunt him.
Yep.
He loses his
Which
wife.
is also
And
very real. The past coming back to haunt you. The person that you
yes,
were is not the person who you are now, but you still have to sometimes pay the consequences for who you were in the past. We see that shit all the time.
100%. And then he slips back into his old ways like an
Yep.
addict. He puts them rings on and he goes to pay a visit. And that was another insane scene.
That's the scene I was talking about earlier. That scene, dog, when he is like point him out,
Mm-hmm.
like the point him out scene is crazy to me. The point him out scene is so crazy because he takes his son, he is young. That
Yeah,
his son
he's
was like 10 years
7.
old, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
10.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, you're right. Probably closer to 7 because he was young as hell. And he got the little bowl cut and everything. It looks all shy. But when he starts pointing them out, the dad walks up to the table and it's just I choose violence. It's just chaos.
Right away. He didn't ask a single
He
question
didn't
at
say a single thing to
first.
anybody. It was just immediately it
He
was
just started
violence.
smoking him.
And some of the violence, when you saw it like in the background and even through the reflection,
Yeah.
was very violent. Like some of the shit that
That
he
was a
was
cool way
doing,
to do that shot.
I like that, right? Like they didn't have to show a zoom in on him killing people. You knew that the people were dead, but they showed it in a unique way where it was kind of like, okay, you get it. Like you get that he's ODing on these people because he's angry. I mean, they killed his wife for God's sake, so of course.
Yep.
But the one scene where like he slams the guy really close to where his son is standing, and then he walks over to him with the rings, and he's like, "Where's your leader?" And the guy's like, "I don't know, I swear." And then the rings glow, and he's holding them in the guy's face, and he just fucking fires them down. And you know that
Yeah.
guy,
Boom! When he shoots the rings down and fucking, his head is gone.
his head
Like,
is completely eviscerated. There's just blood. There's a stain.
oh,
There's just a stain
yeah.
where that guy's head used to be.
That scene was clean. But yeah, on that note, yeah, I mean, Wen Wu, he felt like a real honest person, and
Yeah.
like his whole, by the end of the movie, like his machinations, his grand plan, it's not like
Yeah, it's not like
not
I want to rule the world right now. It's like I want my wife back.
I want my wife back,
It's
and
very simple.
he's being tormented and taunted by
Some demon
demons
shit.
on the other side or whatever. But he honestly, like, he's doing this research. He talks about how he was sitting down collecting all this research and collecting data and trying to figure out how to get his wife back if it was possible.
Yep.
And then one day he actually heard his wife talking to him, and he truly believes that he's saving his wife.
Yes, 100%. And that's what made it cool because from his perspective, because I tried to look at it from his perspective, nothing is crazy about what he's doing. Like in his mind, his wife is actually speaking to him because it is her voice that he's hearing. and everything. So his wife is actually speaking to him, and he is actually going to save her. And there's no convincing him otherwise. Not even his 2 kids can convince him otherwise that
Mhm.
that's not.
And to be fair, no, like if that happened to Tony Stark, he'd do the same thing.
Oh,
You know what I
100%.
mean? Like if that happened to anybody, any of your Avengers, any of your heroes, if they truly 100 believe that their absolute loved one was on the other side of a door, you better fucking believe that door is
Did you
going
see how
forward.
Tony reacted when he found out who killed his parents?
Yeah.
Did you see how he fucking reacted? Him and his grimy ass New York buddy just started jumping someone.
Yeah.
Like,
So
very clearly, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
so he was a believable character, well written character, and an enjoyable character to watch throughout the movie.
Sorry, I mean him getting jumped by 2 grimy ass New Yorkers
Yeah, yeah. I knew what you meant.
because he wanted to kill the person who he found out killed his like, you killed my parents, like, I'm gonna fucking off you. So
Yeah, he saw the video.
yeah, and it was like, wait a second, this fucker, your friend, is responsible for that. Like, you know how traumatic that was for me. So it's just like, yeah, the Avengers have done crazy shit for, without needing a demon involved. Like, they became the demon themselves. Like, I'm the demon.
Exactly.
So I thought that was, oh yeah. I'm not surprised that somebody with that much power, who's also lived for 1,000 years, falls in love once pretty much in his whole life, because hey, no one else made him take the rings off in age. No one else made him have
Nope.
children, or at least we don't think so. But
Yeah. I mean, he may have had children, but just because whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah,
he
because
never
1,000
took the
years ago there
rings
were no
off for a
condoms.
woman.
Yeah.
Like that woman is the only woman that he took the rings off for.
Yeah. I almost want to say the other thing about the rings and him taking them off. They don't really, or maybe I didn't catch it. Uh he took the rings off because he fell in love, but I guess it's assumed that the reason why is so that he could grow old with her and die with her, I would think.
Yeah, they don't specifically go into that, and that's something else I like about this movie is that they don't feel the need to blatantly drive everything out. They
Yeah.
let things be as they are, and they let you kind of
So
take them in and breathe about them. I agree I got the same feeling that the whole thing was like they fell in love together, they were being
but
together
he didn't
because
want to be without her.
he didn't want to be without her, but also she gave up her
Yep.
people,
She
she walked away from
sacrificed
her people and her powers.
and her powers.
Apparently,
Yep.
I don't know exactly how it works, but her powers don't work when she's away from her village, I assume.
Yeah, that's what it looks
Um,
like.
so then he kind of did the same thing. He took his rings off and they were ready to grow old and die together. And I thought
Yeah,
that was really sweet
that's
and good
real.
storytelling.
That's also real. You've been living for 1,000 years. You know, at some point he thought about death.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 years is a long time, especially when you see everyone that you may have loved die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's not surprising that after 1,000 years, he's like, you know what? Maybe this is where I just finally give it up. Right? I'm just gonna settle here. Like, this is good enough for me. I'm happy here. I have such a strong foundation in the world that things will continue even after I'm gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he probably just settled down. But the reason why I was asking that is because I was wondering if maybe, and this they didn't say this, or at least I don't think they did, but maybe with the rings on, not only do you not age, but maybe you also can't like bear children or something, or you also
Mm-hmm.
can't like do certain, like, maybe certain other things are inhibited by wearing them. And
Yeah.
not to get too graphic, but like, maybe he literally cannot have children with them on. I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
like, I was wondering about what would make him take the rings off outside of just wanting to grow old and die, because that's essentially what you're saying when you take them off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that love is strong enough to make somebody do that. Love is the most irrational emotion there is. So I'm not surprised that like he took them off. I was just wondering if there was another reason.
Yeah. I got a similar thought. I didn't think about whether or not he'd be like impotent with them on.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think that he probably has a gang of kids out there.
Yeah. Realistically,
But
if he's had sex at all in the last 800 years ago, then he probably has children all
yeah.
around, and like a generation. Like he probably has great 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 grandchildren. Like,
Yeah, but to them, but like they don't matter to him at all. Like to him, they're not even his children, bro.
yeah,
Like you know what I mean? They're just products of him living his life. It
yeah.
wasn't until this woman that he was like, you
They
know
do
what?
mention that the only thing he's ever cared about and loved is power. They mention that like a couple times throughout the movie, that he has
Mhm.
been power is the only thing that has ever driven him and pretty much what he's cared about. And they show him going through and using his power to gain more power, and that's when he got the Talo, because that was like the next step of power, I guess, on his list. And he couldn't. after he ran into his wife, he couldn't get that power. It was like, well, damn, not only did I lose the fight, but like you also kind of bad on the low.
You kind of bad on the
Like,
dude.
you kind of bad on the low.
The way she used the rings on him, and then it was cool, like to sort of harken back to that because he from his aunt, Shang-Chi, from his aunt, learned some of that fighting style, and he used it on his father at the end of the movie. But something that I thought was really cool. This is another part about the comedy and Katie specifically. Toward the end, they were doing some shit, and I was like, yo, he did a Kamehameha.
Yes.
And then at the end of the movie, Katie is like telling the story to her friend, and she was like, yeah, and then Sean did a Kamehameha wave, and I was like, wait, what? Like legit in the movie, they say Kamehameha fireball or something like that.
Yeah, she says Kamehameha fireball.
I lost it. I couldn't believe it. Because they're sitting there, because there's one point in the movie earlier where they're talking to her friends, and her one friend's like, you two need to grow up. And she's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, like, what do you mean? And then they showed them walking in the alleyway, and they look like fucking children the way they're dressed. She has like the little fanny pack. Yeah, it's so funny.
But yeah. That shit looked sick. The way it looked was sick. And then, because I audibly also said, like, that shit looks like a Kameo wave. And then when the movie itself also said that, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I like when we were watching Jujutsu Kaisen and they mentioned the Rasengan and the Kamehameha and stuff like that. I always like stuff like that where they reference other nerd things. And then us having this fucking nerdy ass podcast, we love references like that because it calls back to some of the stuff that we talk about.
100%.
So when they said that, I was like, damn, that's actually really cool. But it's also kind of funny because they were telling the exact story of what happened.
Yes, they were.
They didn't leave out any details.
Can you all stop?
Yeah, and it was kind of funny because they're telling literally, like, it might be classified by S.H.I.E.L.D. or something, but they were telling exactly what happened. And I thought that was funny. They didn't leave out any details really, but then obviously no one.
Like the Soul Suckers came out and then the Super Soul Sucker.
And then out of nowhere, Wong, who had made a cameo in the movie earlier, just like opens up a portal, and then it's like, wait a second. This is fucking real. And let's go back to that too. So, we were talking about how earlier on, Katie was just getting chewed out by her family about doing things that make you happy and all that stuff. But after that, Sean decides that he's going to go see his sister. He's going to go visit his sister. And he got that postcard. So he goes and finds the fight club. Katie comes along. He goes and finds this fucking crazy ass fight club with a bunch of people who are like metahumans. They're all a little extra than just human.
Yo, so that scene, that sequence was so cool because there was some shit in there that, once again, it's from old Marvel movies that like are just snuck in there. So one, while they were walking, and it was bothering me so much, there was a guy who like he got hit and he had like this orange energy trickle through his body. And I saw it and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, I know it's like that is from another Marvel movie. And I looked at that scene a bunch of times. Come to find out, that was also from Iron Man 3. In Iron Man 3, one of the plots was like regrowing human limbs and they would get really strong and they had like this orange energy pulsing through them.
Yeah.
So that guy is like a survivor from Iron Man 3. He was fighting one of the widows from the Black Widow movie. And then in the main stage, which we're getting to where we got to see Wong, he was fighting Abomination from the Hulk.
Blatantly
fighting Abomination.
And they were in cahoots with each other, milking the crowd basically, and probably betting on, Wong to win behind the scenes, but then pretending like he was going to lose to Abomination because I remember he did get hit. And he said, you want to see how it feels? And he knocked himself out or whatever with the portal trick, which I thought that portal trick was really cool too.
Yeah, it was.
And it was clean. And then they kind of like walk off. And then you come to find out they're like together. But seeing Wong, first of all, was dope because I think he's a fantastic character from Doctor Strange. And, just seeing him in another movie like that, just casually too. Like, what the fuck is... First of all, I didn't take Wong to be the type to be doing shit like this to get money. Because like ultimately
it's like an underground club.
Underground club to get money and also like scamming, essentially. Like you're scamming.
Yeah. But yeah, seeing Wong there was really cool.
It was random, but it was really cool. And I was like, oh God, like because Wong, because seeing who he was fighting, I was like, he might get bodied here. Like I was scared. I'm gonna be honest.
The Abomination's no joke.
I was like, this. I was like, this is a bad matchup. I know Magic is pretty insane, but I was still nervous. Like, what am I about to watch? And then it just was like, oh, this is actually just nonsense. Like it's actually just not. Long's on some shit.
Long is on some nonsense.
So that part was cool. Then eventually, he gets into the ring and he doesn't know who his opponent is. It turns out to be his sister. She beats his ass. She beats his ass, but he's also not really trying. Like there was a point where he blatantly could have punched her in the face. Like
he doesn't fight back. He's trying to talk to her.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of like holds and that type of thing. Not blatantly blunt force, because he had an open shot at her to punch her, and he just obviously didn't do it because they're not about to show that. And yeah, he just wanted to talk, but she was just on some, I'm gonna fuck you up, and then she does that crazy ass kick to him and knocks him unconscious for a little bit. And then come to find out, Katie walks in the room and she has all his money. He's looking like, wait a second, what the fuck?
He's like, did you bet against me?
I love Katie, yo. It's also, her pants are so funny to me too. Like the way she walks around, like her little fucking highlighted green, highlighter orange or green pants that she has on. They're always some crazy ass bright color, and they just fit so funny.
I love when she saw his sister. She was like, I don't remember what she said, but it was something along the lines of like, "You go, girl." Like she saw the sister. Well, her sister,
like, Sean's sister, blatantly said, "I like your pants."
Yeah, she did.
Like, at one point, she blatantly says that to her, which I thought was really. I'm like, what the fuck? Like these crazy ass looking pants that she has on this fanny pack, and she's counting all this money literally falling off the fanny pack in her hands. He's like, "You bet against me." I thought that part was really funny.
That kick she did that knocked him out, by the way. That was because she was standing backwards. And then when she like spun with that fucking heel kick, oh my God.
I said, God damn, she hit the shit out of him. He was bleeding and everything.
Yo.
She hit the shit out of him.
That kick was fucked up.
I guess we really didn't, like, we went into it a little bit, but to rewind back to the early, like the first real action scene outside of his dad, the bus, like when you're watching the movie, at least I didn't expect him to know how to fight like that. So it came out of nowhere when he started fucking those guys up.
He started rumbling. Once again, it's an origin story, but we don't got to waste time. Like, we don't waste much time seeing him really learn. Like, when he started rumbling, he was rumbling.
It's actually cool the way they do it. Instead of showing him training up to that moment, like the movie starts off all slow and boring when you see him training with his dad and being beaten and all that. It actually goes back to that later on when it's more meaningful. And it shows you him fucking people up without knowing any context to how he can fight. Like I didn't know that he could fight. So when those people rolled up on him, I was like, how, like this is, they're just going to take the necklace. I thought the necklace was getting taken right there.
Yeah.
And then he beats their ass. And it's like you said, it's such a well choreographed scene. It's very Jackie Chan, very Jet Li, very like all of that, like old Kung Fu movies, everything. Very inspiration from everything that we've ever seen.
You said earlier, the way he takes his jacket off and he fights with the jacket. And he like runs up the side of the bus and like flips over the bus.
He does parts like Jackie Chan when he goes outside of the bus and he's hanging on the side of it and someone's trying to attack him, and it's all like comedic the way he's dodging the attack.
He's like open
the door and all that. And then she drives it and he's driving it at one point. There's a lot of like comedy mixed in with very serious stuff that's happening. And the guy with the fucking sword arm is going crazy in him, and he being like the main bad guy, I guess, in that moment. It was just really, really well done. So when you get to the part where he's fighting his sister, and that fight's also really cool, even though he's clearly like holding back, and she's obviously not trying to kill her brother either, really. Like she's also holding back to a degree. Obviously she has a soft side.
That last kick
was for the 6 years that she waited thinking that he was going to return.
Yeah, that last kick was for real.
Yes, but then like, before they even get to the fight thing on the plane, he explains like how he was treated as a kid and his whole origin story with his dad, and how his dad was basically having him do an assassination. And you find out later in the movie, which is really cool. Again, the callbacks, the assassination that he bailed on was apparently for the boss who killed his mom.
What's so good is, yes, you hear about that, but they don't tell you, like they don't tell you who the assassination is for or what it's for at that point in the movie. So they make really good use of the movie's just really dense. They make really good use of what they have in the movie because they tell you a story, they give you a flashback, they let things happen, and then they leave certain aspects out and bring them back later.
That are so big though. So they show his dad handing him the knife. The first time they ever show him training, him being beaten, him becoming like super strong because he starts getting beaten and doesn't get hurt by it and all that. They show him become super strong.
He's like 15 or 4, and he is fucking ripped.
Yes.
Okay. He's
Yes.
ripped.
But look at the training regimen he was going through. Yeah, he's ripped really young. And his dad he's like, okay, now it's time for you to really prove yourself. So he hands him this crazy ass looking knife, and the scene cuts off. And Katie says, were you able to go through with it? And he says, on the plane, he basically says, no, I couldn't do it. And then come to find out later on, he tells her, I'm not the person you think I am. And then that's when they go into this. They show the same exact scenes and everything over again, but from a slightly different, like things are slightly different. You get to see more of it. And like, it's in context now of who he was supposed to kill and why him bailing on that was such a big moment. But the dad still let him live. He said, I'll let you guys live for 10 years. Like they both ran away. The sister stayed for a while, 6 years or whatever. And then they've been gone for living. He said, I'll let you live your lives for 10 years. So they've been doing their own thing. And he said, look at what you've made of yourselves. Like basically you did nothing.
You've done nothing with your life. Yeah. Going back sort of to that whole, your parents or just people in your life not being happy with whether or not you're happy. Right.
Yes.
Like, because that is, his dad's basically doing the same thing. He's like, look, you're just a valet driver. Like you've done nothing with your life. You're the son of the 10 rings and you've done nothing with your life. And he's like, I'm happy with my life. You're fucking
like I don't want to do the shit that you were having me do. Like I never really wanted that lifestyle for myself. And that's why I ran away from it. And when you grow up watching violence, like obviously some people succumb to that and they want violence, but then some people see violence and they say, I don't want to repeat this cycle. I don't want to be like that. That shit is traumatizing and it's PTSD and it makes you not want to perpetuate this cycle.
You know what was really funny when after I was done watching the movie, I was done watching the movie. I went downstairs. I heated up some Buffalo Bites, and I was just thinking about the movie, right? Yeah, and I thought about the scene. That them high school kids were fucking lucky. Katie showed up. The scene where they're at the thing and Katie and Sean are telling their friends like how they met in high school and like this is how we met and like these two bullies were trying to beat up Sean and they were making fun of him and then I came in and I started singing California Home or whatever and then I interrupted the fight and like I saved Sean and Sean was like yeah she saved my life but like thinking back them high school kids were about to lose their fucking lives.
He would have beat shit down their legs, as my dad loves to say. He would have beat absolute shit down their legs in high school, and everyone would have been on my man for the rest of his tenure in high school. I don't know if he was a freshman when that happened or if he was a senior, but for the next however many years he was there, he was going to be the most popular kid on campus. Easily.
They were going to get it.
They were going to find out, just like them people on the bus.
Katie didn't know that she saved their lives. She thought she was saving Sean. She did not realize the lives she saved.
That's actually a really good point you brought up. I didn't even think about that as I was watching it. It's like, well, actually.
Yeah. I didn't think about it until afterwards, like, because I went downstairs and I knew we were going to talk about it today.
Yeah.
And I was just replaying the movie in my head.
Yeah.
And then I started laughing because I rethought about that moment. I was like, yo,
their
lives were over.
All the way beat. My man can fight his ass off, and he's also ripped. Like when he had to take his shirt off before he got into the fight club arena.
Yo, did you see Katie looking at him? She was like, "Oh."
Well, that's when I first started to think to myself because they set it up early with the whole "when you two get married, we're just friends" thing. That was very early. So then the whole movie, I was like, well, they put that in there for a reason, right? Like that wasn't just that's not just an empty scene. It also is kind of how parents can be though, especially old ones, because they'd be like, "Oh, I want some grandbabies and shit like that." It's like, okay, calm down. Or like great grands in her case, but like. When we were watching that scene and Katie looks up at him, she definitely does have the I didn't know that was under there.
Yeah, yeah.
It almost
you've been hiding all of that.
Yeah, because he, honestly, when you see him in clothes, he doesn't look like what he looks like without his clothes on. Like he just looks way. You just don't. Some people when they
we got a sneak peek because we saw him when he woke up in the morning.
Yeah, he started doing push-ups. But like you still didn't know like how ripped he really was until you got to see him just standing there, like walking on that plank thing, and it was like, oh shit, like this is okay. This guy's like been training or something because you don't get that kind of body by doing nothing. Like no one has that kind of body without training. So to Katie, it was like I knew you forever, and I never knew that you were this ripped and cut and able to fight like this, which means that he's never been in any kind of altercation around her that involved him. He's been a very peaceful person, clearly, because when you know how to fight the way he does and you're strong and like have that kind of body, I'm sure, like I don't know because I'm not him, but I'm sure that it's a little tempting to use it sometimes. Like somebody might be pressing your buttons in certain scenarios, and it's like I could fuck you up real bad. To have
Yeah,
restraint in those scenarios is hard. I bet.
it depends on the person and situation. Now, I'm not this way anymore, but when I was in high school, I did like taekwondo.
Mhm.
And while like eventually you hit a point, like I was like pretty practicing it, like I knew what it was, where you see street fights and you get in situations and you kind of see how silly they are.
Yeah.
Like you get an altercation or somebody gets mad at you and wants to fight you, and you, at least in my case, there'd be situations where I don't even feel the need to like forward the fight or to like prove how much of a man I am.
Yeah.
Because like I know how much of a joke, like I know it's like beating up a kid. Because
Yeah.
most people don't know how to fight.
That's just facts.
Just because you get in a fight doesn't mean you know how to fight.
Yep. That's just facts.
And
Most human beings just 100% do not how to fight or
yeah.
defend themselves.
So like Floyd Mayweather, for example, like he's not in a rush. Like if somebody makes fun of him on the street, he's not in a rush to punch him out. He's Floyd fucking Mayweather. Like he doesn't need to prove shit to that guy.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. The only reason I'm surprised is because Katie knew him when they were children.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why it's more so because when you're a dumb kid, like, yeah, all the things you said really mostly are applicable to people who are our age. Like when you're older, you know
Yeah,
better,
as
you
you
do
grow
better.
and shit.
But when you're young and somebody start popping off, it's like, dog, I might just start beating your shit.
That's what I think. I think Katie was a good influence on him because
She
I
was.
think before she showed up, them two kids were about to lose their lives.
They were because he would have had no choice, right? Like they would have
Yeah,
started swinging, and he would have had to at that point. And it's like he
yeah,
didn't want to fight the guys on the bus either. Let's be clear.
yeah,
When
yeah,
they came for the necklace, it was like I don't want. He said I don't want any trouble. I think he said literally
yeah.
that, like I don't want any trouble. He was very on some
He was like, I don't know
non-violent.
what you guys are doing. He's like, I don't want any trouble,
Yeah,
please. Like,
he's a pacifist. It's kind of interesting when I think about it now. The more I'm recalling it, like Sean is just a straight up pacifist. He doesn't want to fight in any scenario, but he will. And when he does, it's bad.
oh,
I like
I
him
would have
though.
loved. I would have loved to see him with the rings, like in Infinity War or something. Like, I would have
Me
loved
too.
to see him throw hands with
I
some
kept
other people.
thinking about him fighting against somebody like T'Challa because T'Challa has
Yeah.
that new suit that like has the
Mm.
it also has some kind of energy power going on with it where he can like charge it up and then release it. And I was
Yep.
thinking about him with like fighting with the rings and that power, that kind of kinetic energy that it has going on. I think it would be really cool to see him fighting against, and he might end up fighting against some of the Avengers or something. Like that's not out of the picture.
Yep.
But he probably won't be the one to initiate it. At least they might try to take the rings away. I can
Yeah.
see that happening. I can see somebody coming for the rings, and him being like, absolutely not. These are my dead dads. I'm not giving them away. And then they end up trying to forcefully take them on some shield shit or sword shit, and it's
That's
like, nah.
that's something else. It shows sort of, I don't want to say toxic, but it shows like the weight family has on people because even though, especially after his mom died, his dad started treating them like shit.
Yeah, really.
And then
Yeah, they said that it started after that. After the mom died is when he started being really evil to them.
yes, he put the rings back on. He started treating his children like shit. They were children and they didn't get the supportive father figure to help console them through their mom's death. He
No,
just kind of turned.
it was
But then
cold. He went cold immediately.
through all of that, and then through the 10 years or however many years that he didn't see his dad, when he saw his dad again, even knowing everything he knows about his dad, and like you could still see he loved his dad. Like when his
Yeah.
dad grabbed his head and like they put their heads together and stuff, like you could still see the love and the family that was there. You know what I mean? Like that
Also, like
bond that was there.
I do like at the end of the Fight Club arc when his dad does show up, shuts it down. Like he beats them real quick. It's like, okay, y'all were doing because the siblings were going ham on his subordinates, and the dad walks him and says, "I told my men that they couldn't kill you
Yeah,
if they tried." I thought
yeah.
that was to me that was fire. Like I thought that was so fire. Like, damn, your kids are on some shit patch. Like, So when he walks up and he says, "I told my men that they could not kill you if they tried," he was proud. Like that for
He was,
him.
he was.
And then he like quickly put them down. He put Sean down real quick. And you can tell that Sean is not fearful of his life, and you can tell the dad doesn't want to kill Sean either. There's
Mhm.
none of that weird energy like I'm going to kill my child. It's like it's very much a reunion of some kids that you feel like have just been tardy, and the prodigal son. It's that vibe. It's like you're still my son, and even though you've been on some nonsense to me, like I'm not that mad at you. Like it's just kind of like, okay, he was on some come back into the fold vibe.
100%, and that's something that I thought was really cool and interesting, because it just shows on a lot of that really is how family is. Like there's things people in my family, like there's things that happen throughout life that people in your family that like fall out of your life, but when you see them again, like it's all kind of back to normal. You like give them a hug and whatever, and there's just a lot of shit. How much
time has passed is like, damn, we went through some drama. Some crazy shit might have happened in a family or between us, but at the end of the day, we're still family. I still love you like a family member, and we can get past that. And that's clearly how the dad was moving when he showed up and captured his children and told them to lock them up.
Yeah, there was what movie was it? I feel like I saw a movie recently. Was it Black Widow? Maybe, I don't remember. I can't remember. I don't think it was Shang-Chi, but there was a movie that I feel like I just saw recently. And there was a lady in the movie that would say like Chinese proverbs or whatever. And actually, you know what? It wasn't a movie. It was Super Smash Bros. Brawl, the Snake Codex.
What the fuck are we talking about? What?
All right, listen. It all makes sense. It all makes sense. In Smash, Snake has this thing where he can do the Codex and he can talk to like the boss and Otacon and stuff.
Yeah.
And he'll get information. He'll be like, Otacon, what's going on? And Otacon will be like, oh, that's Mario, blah, blah, blah. And he would like say shit.
Yeah.
And so the one for Ice Climbers, instead it was like, I forgot the girl's name, but it was the Asian girl. And she says like ancient Chinese proverb. And she says stuff. And then Snake is like, is that really a Chinese proverb? But anyway, she essentially says, to paraphrase, that like brothers at home, like essentially, like to paraphrase, brothers at home, family at home will treat each other like shit. But in public, they have each other's back. Like essentially saying like family within family will do things to each other.
Yeah.
But don't let anybody else do that to my brother, because I will fuck you up.
That's real life.
That's part of what I feel like was shown in here. And when you said it, his pride in knowing that his son would not get killed by all of his men, like all of his men trained. He was like, y'all can't kill him if you tried. You didn't have a shot. And you can see the pride on his face when he comes back.
He's very prideful. He's very happy about it. Like when he sees that his kids are virtually unscathed from people who it looked like they were trying to kill them. I'm gonna be honest.
Well, I think that's what the order was. I think the point of that order was you have to try to, because otherwise you aren't going to do shit.
Yes, it was very.
Try to kill them.
It was Kakashi with the bells. You're trying to get these. You're trying to get these necklaces from the children, right? And if you don't try to kill them, you have no chance of getting them. The same way Kakashi had the bells, and he told Naruto and the rest of Team 7, like, look, if y'all don't come at me like with the intention of killing me, you have no chance. You don't have a chance really, but you don't know that. But if you don't come at me with the intention to kill, you really have no chance. Like it's just zero. So yeah, I think that I do agree with you that was the order. Go at them with the intent to kill. And if they died, then they were not worthy of being my children anyway. Because as proud as he was, and it's they probably were like, but master, they're your kids. He's like, don't worry, you couldn't kill them if you tried. Like that was, I bet that's how the conversation went. And he was
100%.
And then they were like, well, hold up now. Like, is that a challenge? And they went at them on that scaffold like they were trying to kill them. Look, Katie was about to die. And the way the sister came out.
That was another great scene. Like
the
way the scenes played out. Also, some of them men, like he did not. Some of them men are dead. Like they straight fell off the building.
Oh yeah, they got.
Like, they are hella dead.
The sister said, "Don't tell me you got soft," because she was killing them. She was actually killing them.
Yeah, because he held one to question him, and then she just straight knocked his ass down. She's
like, no. She didn't care about. She killed him. She was on some shit like, no, this ain't that. Like we ain't soft.
We ain't soft.
We ain't soft.
Not at all.
I thought that was good too. Yeah, the whole scaffold scene on the outside of the building was really intense, really well choreographed. I was thinking to myself, like, how did they? I wonder how many times they had to shoot it because it's so clean, like the fighting and stuff. It was at nighttime, but you could still see everything. Oh my god, it looked so good. Like you said, the one part where the one guy was made into a bridge so that they can get across, and then they knocked him down and he fell to his death or whatever. Just a lot of it, and also the way they handled those weapons that they had, like those weird ass, I don't know what they're called, but the one character in Mortal Kombat has that same exact weapon, but not electrified.
Are you talking about the hook swords? Like
Yes.
they had like the hook sword
Hmm.
things.
That
Yeah.
weapon, it looks cool as hell. And then they were also electrified, so they could like stun people.
Yes.
They like
I
the way
like.
they.
I was gonna say because the other weapon I was gonna say I love the weapon the sister uses, the string blade
Oh,
with
I love that.
the weight at the end. The way she was fucking whipping that around was OD.
Yeah, I love that weapon. I was gonna call it like a kunai with chain type because that's what it kind of gave me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that weapon too, and I've seen that weapon in RPGs and obviously other kung fu movies and stuff like that. But that weapon is scary as hell. Like, could you imagine that in real life? Somebody swinging something that if they kick it towards your neck, like it'll just like it'll pierce you and kill you.
That weapon would be fucking dangerous.
And you could like also choke people out with it and bring them to you, like wrap it around their neck and then yank them. It does a lot. I like that weapon a lot, especially in those kind of movies where it's exaggerated. You know, it looks way better than it would look in real life, probably. But yeah, all of the fighting in this movie is really well done, and then the story is told in such a cool way where they, like we talked about, they leave out certain details, but then when they show the scene again, for example, one of the things that really fucked me up that the dad said that was really really fucked up is when they were having that moment where it was like, I think Sean said something about, well, you left us for those rings, and he said,
Yeah.
oh man, he came back and he was like, and this is on some, this is how toxic family can be, because when you're trying to hurt each other, you don't care what you say, right? Like, you're just trying to hurt each other. So when the dad responded, even after 1,000 years of wisdom and the patience and all that shit that you probably develop over that long living, he still in that moment says something so fucking petty.
Yes, he does. Yes, the fuck he does.
And mean. And he said, I was away, like doing whatever I was doing, but you were there. And when she got killed, you did nothing. You stood there and you fucking watched, basically like
from
a
the
coward.
other side of the window. He was
from
like,
the other
you
side,
just watched from the other side of the
as
window.
they killed your mom. And I was like, oh my god, like that's low. Like, because one, he was a fucking kid, like an actual, and also the mom had to convince him to leave her alone, like to go in, and you know what I mean? Like, it was we knew the context of the scene because the dad wasn't there for it, but we knew that the mom had to convince the children they were not going to leave. He even said, you don't have your powers. Like, the son wasn't going to leave. Let's be serious. He wasn't going to leave his mom to face them on his own. She had to talk them into it, all gentle and everything. So when he said that to Sean, I was like, yo, that is some toxic fucking trauma right there. Like, that is exactly what's wrong with, like, when families trying to hurt each other. They just they will draw the most dark moment in your life and throw it in your face in a way that's vile.
They will, and that's like what I was saying, is that family can be so toxic and so loving at the same time. And this movie did a good job at showing both of that, like how they still have this bond and they still love each other, but they're also just very toxic.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they were trying to save their dad until Sean was like, I have to kill him. Which was like, all right, I don't know if my man went straight. He went straight to, like, I have to kill him.
He's like, I'm going to be what he trained me to be.
But I guess that speaks more to him knowing his dad. He knew that his dad won't stop. Like, he knew his dad better than a lot of other people might. It's like one of those things. I know this man, and the only way you can actually stop him is by killing him. Once he's made his mind up on something, he's not going to change. I can't actually talk him out of it. So he resorted to, I'm going to kill my dad. And when he said that, I took that. I was like, wait, this guy's like a pacifist, and he's on some, I'm going to murder my dad. And also at the time, his dad still had the rings. So I was looking like, I don't know how to, like, let me know how that works out for you. Let me know how
you're like, all right, Sean.
All right, Sean. You know how people be talking crazy. You know how when you and your homeboys, y'all teenagers, and be like, man, I can't wait till I grow up so I can beat his ass. Like, you be talking about your dad and shit. And then when you grow up, you realize, like, I'm not. But it's like when you young, your friends will hear you out while you're talking that, but then in their heads, they're like, man, you ain't beating your dad.
They're like, all right, Sean.
I don't give a fuck what you. All right, Sean. I don't give a fuck what you talking about. You ain't beating your dad. So it was one of those moments where when he said that, I kind of was like, let me know how that works out.
What's funny is I had a situation like that. I remember somebody I knew in high school telling me, because he was like, yeah, like blah blah blah. Like, one day, like, my dad hit me, I hit him back, and that shit never happened again. Like, he was like, I fucked my dad up, and I was like,
okay.
I was like, all right, Pat. I was like, well, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
He was like, no, he was like, you should fight your dad. I was like, no, you
Yes.
fucking out of your mind.
Yeah, our dads. So we often talk about how we have pretty much the same life, especially our childhood. Our dads are not that. You can't.
Nah,
When I was a
nah,
kid, and when you were, your dad is a fucking police officer. So at no point in my childhood could I ever have beat my dad.
no. There
My
was
dad.
no way I could ever beat my dad in a fight. It's
Yeah,
not happening.
my dad was a very violent person when I was younger, and there's no world where I could have beaten him in any physical way unless I had a gun. Like there's no world where I could have beaten him, or even so that just never was a thing for me. I was all right Sean with my friends. Like that was
All
me.
right, Sean.
Yeah, I was all
Yeah,
right Sean, because there was no, like, I would talk crazy shit like, oh yeah, like when I get older, but at the end of the day, like while I was a kid, there was never going to be a moment where I could,
nope,
but I get it
nope.
though. Like Sean got older, he's trained and his body's all nice and he felt strong, and he started learning some of the dragon shit that the auntie done taught him. So he's feeling himself. And so he's like, I'm gonna kill my dad. And even the auntie didn't say anything when he said that. She kind of like, okay, I'm just all right. I guess I'm gonna be out a nephew. My nephew might not be here in a couple days, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Like
She was like, I don't know if you know about old Wen Wu, but
yeah, like when Wu go way back. Wu Shiesty.
that,
It always comes back to Wu
it
Shiesty.
always comes back to Wu Shiesty. But they
could you imagine a dad in Squid Game?
yeah.
Could you imagine? The dad in Squid Game would be so funny. He would be the real Wu Shiesty because he don't give a fuck.
That shit would be over so fast.
It would be the fastest thing ever. I mean, it wouldn't even be a contest.
So fast.
Yeah.
That last fight when they that's something else that was cool though, is when he did finally realize his error, and he finally realized like, oh shit, Cthulhu really was on the other side of this door.
Yeah.
He willingly like, oh shit.
I hate you so much. Oh.
He was like, all right, well, and then he saw he saw the growth of his son, because his son did similar things that his mom / Wu's wife did, and like he gave the rings up. That scene looked cool too, the way he like put his hands out.
I love
and the
that
rings
part.
Came off.
I really like that part.
Oh.
Also, they teased us because throughout the fight with Sean and Wu Shiesty, you got to see Sean start to take the rings.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point he took 5 of them, and that part was super cool because he started fighting with just the 5, and they changed color, so they like turned on the dad. And I was like, oh, well, this is going to be really cool. And then he ended up getting all 10 rings. And at that point I was like, well, now the dad just loses, right? Like there's no way. I was like, this is the same thing that the mom did, but like worse. He started charging up the Kamehameha wave, and then he kind of chilled on it. But I was like, there's no way that can win now because he stole the rings, and they accept him as, when they change color, that's my way of thinking. They accept him as their new ruler.
I agree.
So I thought that the dad was done, but then Sean, dumbass, gave them back to his dad, and luckily for him, the dad immediately gets yoked up by T'Chulu or whatever the fuck that thing was, and he starts getting his soul taken, and he gives them away to Sean to use. And I was okay. That was a good way to like pass them on, but also make it rare, because in my head, what I thought was going to happen if he gave them back to his dad was going to say, all right, this has gone too far. I actually have to kill I haven't been trying to actually kill you this whole time, but now that you've shown me that you can legit beat me, I'm going to go all out and I'm going to kill my son, and I'll just make another son. Like I thought that he was going, because that we've seen that cliche happen up before where they're like, fuck it, I'll just start a new family. Like if you won't do what I want you to do, then that's fine. I'm immortal anyway. Like you're just one son out of fucking any number that I want to have. So I thought that he was gonna, and then I thought maybe the Chulu thing will come out, the demon will come out and grab him up as he's about to kill Sean, and maybe the Sean will call it 10 rings. But they did it in a way that was kind of cool, where at the end of it, his dad kind of gave them to him, or not kind of, but he did give them to him. So in that way, when fucking Sword comes to take those rings away, he's gonna be like, absolutely fucking not.
My dad my dad had these for 1,000 years. They are like, my dad gave them to me. Like, they're my family heirloom.
They're staying right where they are. And
Sean knows how fucking powerful they are. So I do think if a government agency or whatever legit tries to say like, no, you have to give these to us, we're taking them away, he's like, no way.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking as I was watching the movie, because they give you immortality, and they kind of make you not age. because those two things aren't necessarily the same. Like you can sometimes you have immortality, but then you just still get old, which would be fucked. But
Hmm.
the dad never aged until he took them off. I was wondering, like, okay, is the dad going to be in like several movies, but then are they going to have to replace the actor at some point? Then I started thinking about Shang and how when he gets them eventually, he's in a Marvel Cinematic Universe. If he's going to have them and he's never going to age, and they're going to have to replace his actor at some point to keep him young, but then they set up a precedent where the dad took the rings off and he started aging, and they blatantly show like he looks older than when in the beginning
Hmm.
of the movie he looked way younger, and then when you see him when he finally comes to the fight club, he looks way older. And I thought that was good planning on Marvel's behalf, because when you say the word immortality or say the word eternal youth, you have to stick to that. You
Yeah.
have to make sure that the actor actually looks eternally young. So I did really like that little thing where they set up a precedent where when eventually the actor who plays Shang-Chi, he will get older in real life and they will just say that he took the rings off. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Because
just like a little nerd thing that I don't know. I just
and
like stuff like that.
it fits with his character too, because he doesn't lust for power and
No,
doesn't lust for immortality. So it would make sense that he wouldn't keep the rings on all the time.
exactly. And the cool thing is, speaking of that, like lust for power, he doesn't really want power or anything like that. However, he has the fucking dragon and he has the rings.
Mm,
And his mom was able to beat the dad with just the power of the dragon. Like she was able
yeah.
to solo the dad, take the rings, control them and everything with just the dragon's power. The dragon flew into Shang when he was underwater and like gave him power and everything at that moment. And then on top of that, then he gets the rings too. So he's like OD. Like
He also has fucking dragon scale armor.
he
Like
has dragon scale armor.
his dragon scale suit that
Yeah.
shit's clean.
Oh, can we talk about the costume design? His dad's costume was insane at the end.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
I wanted Sean to get that because, like, okay, the dragon scale armor that he has is cool and everything. Like, even the armor that all the other people had and Talo was cool. But when his dad finally pulled up, the shit that he was wearing, that blue and black, and it was like
Yeah.
it wasn't just so like Sean's armor or whatever is just the top half. It really is like not. It doesn't really extend. But his dad was wearing a full body Mortal Kombat ninja looking armor.
He did. It looked like
And
some Mortal Kombat
that
shit.
shit to me, when I saw that, I said, I need Sean to get that. I need him to get that, maybe in a different color, because like just to so like he's different. But I need him to get that armor. That armor looks sick as fuck. I want him to get that.
My man Sean. Dude, even looking at this picture, you got the movie poster up here.
Yeah,
And Wenwu looks so sick, man.
he does.
I like Wenwu a lot.
And the way they show him that big, you're right when you say like this movie really is about him as much as it is about Shang-Chi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a big benefit for the movie, is that it wasn't just a simple origin story. It was a movie. It was a movie about two characters, and they did a really good job writing these two characters and make you feel connected to the villain. Like the villain was a fully fleshed out character who had motivations and you understood him.
I kind of liked that the real villain wasn't just that demon that didn't speak or anything really. Like I like that wasn't the main villain in the movie is his dad. And his dad is more human. So that way when a lot of times when some of the worst animes that we've watched are like the villain becomes a big monster that's just nonsense, and they kind of lose all of the things that made them a cool, convincing villain. For example, Madara becoming Kaguya, who never speaks, is terrible.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
It's terrible. It's like that just.
And Kaguya, it's the fact that it's like not even. It's just out of nowhere, right? Whereas this, they kind of hint to this monster being a thing. Yeah. So you get the feeling that this monster will be the final fight, but when the big monster comes out, you don't feel cheated because you got everything you wanted from Shang-Chi and Wenwu. You got that. That felt like it came to a conclusion.
Yep, and it did come to a conclusion. It felt good.
And then he just kind of, he fights the big demon monster and kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, he wraps it up, beats it real quick, and it's like, okay, that was actually an amazing end. And that big demon monster is dealt with. Is also I like that he didn't seal it. He killed it.
Yeah, he didn't seal it.
Because at first I was thinking like, oh, this is going to be the Kaguya thing where he's going to seal it, and it's like, no, I'm going to kill.
He puts the 10 rings in that fucker's chest, and then like as he's coming down, the ring starts spinning.
I was like, where is this going?
They start spinning in the monster's chest.
Violence. Just violence. I was watching that scene like, where is this going? And he starts spinning and coming down in that big ass whirlpool, and then he fucking explodes them. I was like, okay.
The 10 rings are fucking
like, who taught you that? Your dad never did that. What is going on?
Oh man.
They're one of the best freestyle weapons. I love, like
Yes, dude.
you pointed out earlier, but you can freestyle with them, which is
They're in
so
my
cool.
top 10, man. They've made it into my top 10 anime, like comic book, whatever weapons or accessories that I would want. If you could have superpowers, what would you have? Like, add it to like Uchiha eyes and things like that.
Yeah.
10 rings have been added to that list.
They are really, for me, they might be that too, because they grant immortality, and I like that a lot.
They grant immortality, and they're just the freestyle and how sick and cool they are. Like, the one scene that is in my head, it's so small, but when he just throws his arm down and the rings extend off his arm,
and they
the
explode on the
electricity's
ground.
going through them. Oh my god,
I love
it's
that.
so sick.
I love how when he calls them back too, everything about them is really cool.
Yeah, and they slip right back.
And then sometimes he be fucking wrapping the rings around people's necks and yoinking them and shit.
Yeah.
When they showed him
talking about freestyle.
When they showed him first fighting that army, when he went in, he started wrapping the rings around people, and I was like, "What the shit?" Then he starts sending the rings out in every direction. He just starts shooting them out, and they just start bodying people. It's really cool.
Dog, the one scene, I don't remember if Wenwu did it or Shang-Chi did it, but there's a scene, it's really quick, where he throws a ring out and then uses the ring as a step stool. He throws a ring out and then he jumps off the ring. I fucking lost my mind when I was like, he has a ring come out.
I don't remember that.
And he runs up and he jumps and he places his foot on the ring that he has held in place to jump off the ring and do some other shit.
See, I gotta watch it again.
Lost it. I was like, because that little clean shit that stuff gets me.
I'm telling you, whoever choreographed the fighting sequences in this movie is goated, and they need to stay on for the rest of the MCU because they really do know what they're doing. They know it looks cool. Like they just, whoever it is, they're a big nerd. They probably love kung fu movies or has their hand in kung fu movies that we love.
They've probably done, if we look it up, they've probably done kung fu. Like,
yes,
you know what I mean?
Whoever that person is, they're fantastic at their job, and they know it looks cool on camera. Like, they know how to like film things and have them come out on the other side and look really, really good to the viewer, because every single fight just gave me Jackie Chan nostalgia, Jet Li nostalgia, all of those good things. The comedy in the fights, like, because the fights, some of them blatantly did have, like the bus had a lot of comedy in it, even though it was a very serious moment. Still, it still had that funny, like, this isn't going to be the most serious fight you see. There's going to be much more shit to come. This is just the first one. We're going to send some grunt, your typical goblins, your grunts, and all that stuff at you.
Yep.
And
speaking of Jet Li, super random note. I think the first movie I ever saw with you, not in theaters, but at your apartment, was a Jet Li movie.
Was it?
I think, yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but I remember. I do think the first movie that, like, us hanging out we ever watched was a Jet Li movie.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many too. Forbidden Kingdom, I think, might have him and Jackie Chan in it. And then there's a bunch of them though. But yeah, I'm a big fan of both Jet Li and Jackie Chan. And seeing this movie just reignited, because I haven't seen them in anything in a long time. I guess they're both retired, or maybe I'm just unaware. But I haven't seen them in anything in probably the last
it's been a while.
half a decade, honestly. I mean, I'm sure that both of them are old. And I believe Jet Li at one point, maybe he got sick or something, because the last time I did see him in anything, like, it was on a magazine. I think he was like really, really small. Like, he looked like he lost a bunch of weight and he was bald and everything. So it was like something with his health going on. But I hope that both of them are okay and just, living their best life, because they've done such a fantastic job of laying the groundwork for movies like Shang-Chi to come out and clearly draw inspiration from their projects.
Yes.
Also, and this is just like a little wrap this up moment, but there's a big thing that is always talked about nowadays, and I know a lot of people can't stand hearing about it, but like, representation matters, and this movie having an Asian superhero now is really fucking cool. I'm sure to people who are young Asian people who are growing up and like want to see themselves represented in a really cool way, and also seeing Asian families on screen being Asian families and not just being caricatures of Asian families, like actually being genuinely like what a real Asian family might be like. And also having Asian people play these roles and not just having like the Last Samurai be fucking Tom Cruise. Like Shang-Chi is not being played by Tom Cruise. Or Timothée Chalamet, or whoever the hot actor is right now.
Remember when the Netflix Marvel Iron Fist came out? Like, yeah, Iron Fist is white in the comics, but I remember people were like, really? Because yeah, when Iron Fist came out on the Netflix Marvel shows, they were like, dude, another just like white guy.
Yeah, like it's just nice to see them choosing to pick up this character because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know anything about Shang-Chi before this came out. Like nothing. I didn't know about the 10 rings. I didn't know about his dad. I didn't know about him.
I knew very little.
I
Like
knew
I've
nothing.
heard of it, but like
Zero.
that's
I'm
it.
one of the people who knew zero about this character. So you have someone like me who knows nothing and now being educated on who this person is. And I also think that this hero is really cool. And I think that his movie was done justice. It wasn't just like it also didn't feel like it was trying to cater to like specifically an Asian audience in a sense of this is us pandering to a group of people. It didn't feel
I
like that at any point.
100% agree.
It never felt cringe.
This movie is a great example of them doing an excellent movie with a fully Asian cast, right? And at no point did it feel like they were saying, hey, look how cool we are. We did a movie with a fully Asian cast. Like this just felt like a true, honest movie.
Yeah,
it was great.
It
great
did not
actors
feel
in it.
cringe to me at any point with them being like pro-Asian in it. I just felt like it was, I don't know. Like I said, when in the beginning of this podcast, I mentioned how this felt like a movie where you were watching two Americans just living, and then this other shit starts to happen. But they were very relatable characters, even to me, I'm not Asian, I'm black. You're not Asian, you're white. But like we still were able to relate to some of the shit that they are going through. They're very normal lives. And then I'm sure for people who are all, actually Asian, seeing this representation is cool as shit too. And yeah, it's just nice. It's just nice to have this hero. I hope that he stays around in the MCU for a while and does a lot of cool ass shit going forward because I can't imagine him not with just this movie was so good.
So that's something I'm a little worried about. And that I really hope I want to see him in crossovers. I want to see his sequel. I want to see him in more movies. I'm a little worried because at least me, I haven't heard a lot of buzz about this movie. Like to me, this movie, I don't feel like got that much hype and that much buzz. And especially after I watched it, I really like this movie, and I really hope it does well.
So I'll say this on that topic. On my timeline, when this came out in September, the people who went to go see it, everyone, and I think I did say it in this episode, but everyone was saying that this movie was really good, surprisingly.
Okay.
Everyone on my time, and like I'm on social media a lot more than you and like most other people, just because I don't know, I'm a social media fiend. But a lot of people were talking this. That's why I said I went into it kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Everyone was hyping this up, and I was a little nervous when that happens. Sometimes it doesn't live up to it, and it can really ruin it because it's like, well, did the people hyping it up make it not good to you, or was it genuinely not good? Because it's like sometimes people can hype things up so much, and then you see it, and it's like this wasn't that good, and then that makes it worse.
That's how it was for me for like Breaking Bad. Like everybody talked about how amazing Breaking Bad was. And when I watched Breaking Bad, I was like, this is a show.
Yeah. Everyone made it sound like it was the best show like ever. And I also was one of the people like you who maybe people hyped it up a little too much for me. And I was not blown away, especially about seasons 1 and seasons 2, like where you have to start from. So when, watching those first 2 seasons, I was like, this is a show, but it's definitely not the best thing I've ever seen. So going into Shang-Chi, I was a little nervous, but then as I was watching it 2 nights ago, I was sitting there laughing and enjoying myself. And so like I probably had the same exact reaction as the people who went to the theaters to see it. Holy shit, this movie's amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot. Another quick note on the end, like the post-credit scenes were cool. Marvel's getting a little OD. They'll have a post-credit scene and then the credits and then another post-credit scene. I'm like, y'all are tripping, all right? How many post-credit scenes do I gotta find?
Eternals does the same thing. There's 2 of them.
But the one post-credit scene had me crying when they brought Wong back.
Yes.
It's Katie, Sean, and Wong at the karaoke bar again.
Oh yeah.
Dog, I was crying.
I love that for them. I love that part. The serious one was when they were playing with the ring, and he was like, "This dates back to before this and this, and maybe even further than that."
Yeah, they were talking the Hulk and Captain Marvel.
Yes, and then she said she had to go, and then the Hulk was like, "All right, well, I'm out."
Yep.
And he was in human form again, which I noticed.
Yeah.
So
I'm interested to see what they do, man. I don't know what the next big crossover Marvel movie is going to be. I don't know if it's going to still be called Avengers or if they're going to call it something else.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where they go because they're building off this new cast that they have, and I really hope Shang-Chi is a big part of
Yes,
that
I'm
going forward.
liking the post snap MCU a lot.
Yes, same.
I've been liking everything that they've done way more. I'm gonna be honest. The stuff leading up to Infinity War and Endgame, you know how I feel. I think that most of those Marvel movies are not that good. Like just
Hmm.
flat out, and we could have a discussion about that at another time in more detail. But I think that like half of them, if not more than half of them, I would never watch again. They just
Yeah,
not, and that's because also they're the earlier movies, right? These are the
they're just
movies.
not as I mean, they're just simply not as good.
They're just not
I
as good. The movies that are
it's
coming out
just
now are just
that's it.
better. Shang-Chi
Yeah.
solos the entire MCU leading up to Infinity War, basically. Like every
Yeah,
movie,
Shang-Chi is better than almost every
almost
pre-Infinity
every
War
single
movie.
one. It's almost better than every single one. There's only a few that can stand up to it. You know what I mean? Like, and those are the ones that probably came out
100% agree.
more recently. So
Yeah. I mean,
realistically,
every Marvel movie before The Winter Soldier is bad.
that's how I
Like
feel. That is
like
how I actually
I
feel.
watch them and I think they're worth watching, like I said. And I think
Yeah.
this also stands true for watching Shang-Chi. A lot of those movies are bad. They are worth watching because I think the Marvel universe ends up going somewhere really cool.
Yep.
Infinity War is one of
And
the
it
best movies I've
pays
ever
off.
seen, and it pays off. And I think just like in Shang-Chi, just like in Infinity War, there are, although less so, there's aspects of this movie that you can enjoy more and appreciate more because you saw bad movies.
Yes,
Like there's bad movie
that's true.
DNA that makes these movies
Because
even better.
you saw the Iron Man 3 guy in the Fight Club, and that was like, oh shit, that little thing was cool to you, seeing this guy with like the red energy coursing through his body, and then also
Yep.
seeing Abomination, or what is his name, Abomination,
Abomination. Yep.
seeing him from Incredible Hulk and fighting in the ring with Wong from like all these different people from all these different movies, seeing the girl from Black Widow, one of the
Hmm.
widows, literally, and her in the movie is also cool. Like seeing all these things that are from these movies, whether the movies are good or not, is irrelevant to that. It's like the way they all kind of, you get the feeling of a universe.
Yes, and it's all like it feels tightly knit and connected, and it does a great job of giving you that experience that you get when you read through comic books. And when
Yeah.
comic books have crossovers, but with way less of it being cumbersome. Like one of the cumbersome things about reading comics is you'll be reading a comic and then the next issue, like you're reading Iron Man, and then when you read Iron Man 42 after reading 41, it's on a completely different storyline. You're like, wait, what the fuck happened? And then you realize, oh, the storyline that was in Iron Man 41 is continued in these 30 other comic books that you never
Yes.
heard of. And you got to go read all these. And it's just like, but the way they're doing it in the movie universe is so clean and tightly knit, and it feels connected. And so, yeah, watching all those bad movies, you only got to watch them once.
Yep.
And then it makes all the good movies even better. This is a great kung fu movie on its own.
Yes.
But
I'm gonna
watching a
watch
lot of
this
those other
again.
movies, yeah, me too, 100%. I almost wish I did see it in the theaters because I think some of those action sequences would have been sick
Oh,
as
I was
fuck to
thinking the
see on
same thing. And I have an insane TV and all, but I still was sitting there like, man, this would have been so good in theaters.
it.
Like this would have been so fucking good. So I agree with that as well. Like it definitely, I'm not surprised now when all the people were talking about how good it was when it actually came out. And then over the weekend, because it came out on Friday, I believe, over the weekend on Disney Plus. On the weekend, everyone was talking about Shang-Chi again. And that got me excited about it because I was like, oh shit, that did drop. I need to, at some point I need to watch that. And then we
Yeah, because
decided,
on Disney Plus it just came out recently, right?
like literally this Friday that just passed.
Okay, cool.
Like literally the last Friday before we recorded this. So it has been out for one weekend.
Yep. Yeah, and then we were like, yeah, let's watch it and then do the episode on it.
Yeah.
And I'm happy we did because I was not disappointed. Right before, it's funny, at this point now I caught up, like
Yeah,
since starting the
you are
podcast.
caught up.
I've seen all the Marvel shows.
Except
I've now
Eternals,
watched
the only thing you
all
are.
them. Yeah, I haven't seen the Eternals yet, but I'm waiting.
Yeah.
But I even saw it because I was talking to Fraser. I was like, yeah, I'm probably just gonna watch Shang-Chi. I'll get around to watching Black Widow. But then I messaged Fraser. He messaged me one. He was like, hey, I just watched Shang-Chi. It was really good. And I was like, hey, I just watched Black Widow. I just simply can't bring myself to watch things out of order. Like I just had to watch
Yes.
Black Widow first because it came out first. And we can talk more about that movie some other time. But I had to watch Black, and I'm happy I did because I noticed like that one, like even though it's not relevant, but it was cool to notice that one Widow character
Yeah.
in Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But I did think it was funny. You were like, I have to watch it in order. I thought that was.
I was like, I couldn't help myself. I was going to just watch Shang-Chi, but then I was like, we watched Black Widow.
Well, I'm happy for you to see Eternals eventually, and we can do a full review on that because I really enjoyed that movie, and I do think that a lot of the movies that are coming out now post snap, post, the blip,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it. I think that these movies have been pretty good so far, especially the shows. Like the shows have been really
The
good.
shows are great. Yeah.
Loki, especially, and also WandaVision, both of them are very good. I think Eternals was really good, and I think Shang-Chi was really good. So I'm excited to see like this next Spider-Man movie that's coming out in December, supposed to be all the rage and blow every expectation out the water and be all of this crazy shit. We're going to see if that lives up to the hype, but I'm excited for that too right now. And I hope that Marvel just keeps pumping out this really good content because I'm not mad at it at all. And this also is great for our podcast. So,
You fucking right.
all right, well,
This shit
let's
is
wrap
legit.
up. This is episode 33 of the IMNerd podcast. If you have anything that you want us to read out loud on the show, as far as listener letters or just your opinions on, Shang-Chi or other things that we've talked about, please write into imnerdpodcast@gmail.com and we may read it aloud on the show. Also, there is a listener letter that I missed and I saw it in my inbox, in the IMNerd podcast inbox,
Hmm.
and it's from Vincent, and it was on the Death Note. It was on the Death Note topic that we got off to, because in these last couple episodes we've been talking about Death Note a lot. Somehow we just kind of end up on it.
Yeah.
So I didn't completely forget about that. I noticed it yesterday, I want to say, and I was going to read it out today, but we ended up talking too much. So on the next episode of the podcast, which will be recorded this Sunday and dropped on the following Monday, we will be reading that listener letter on the show because you wrote a lot, Vincent. You wrote a ton for
Yeah.
us to talk about. But I
We
love
could probably
Death
do
Note,
it
so
at
I'm
the
not mad at it.
we could probably do it at the start of the episode.
Yes, we could just start off with that and then kind of go from there. And maybe, I mean, this next episode coming up, we don't have a topic yet, so I don't know. Maybe it could be the Death Note episode. I don't know. Maybe not though, because I'm going to be busy this week, so I don't know what the topic is going to be
Yeah,
this
we'll
this
figure it
next
out.
episode. But yeah, we always figure it out. But either way, your listener letter will be read. I don't want you to feel like we completely forgot it and we're going to skip it or something because it's been like a little bit since you sent it. But yeah, as I always say, do the things that make you happy. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
I hope you enjoy it too. I want the 10 rings for myself. That's what would make me happy.
You want to be Wu Shiesty.
That's 100%.
All right.